Hey guys, Tarke here, and today we are joined by the entire Peewee section to talk about ExileCon. Discord is definitely made for this many people. Expect some random hiccups. But as always, we'll have the time-honored tradition. Raiz, what have you been up to?
ExileCon. That's it. ExileCon, then I got sick. Haven't played PoE. Haven't streamed in a month. That's it. it's a short story, but ExileCon was fun. I can recommend to anybody who missed out.
Wait, what? Just go back.
Chris did say they want to do another one. Just don't know when.
Do it.
Just gotta wait like 3 years, you know?
Like Tarke mentioned in the pre-show, there's like 60 hours of VODs that you can watch. So hey, there's that.
Still that many hours?
It's close to that.
8 hours of what they streamed for 2 days. That's 16 hours. Then there's all the stuff that's going up in separate VODs. So that's like 20 hours. Then there's all the content creators milking the content so they don't have to play Blite League. So that's like another like 50 hours. I've committed that I'm not going to play Path of Exile until the new league comes out. I refuse to complete a map.
So the usual.
The usual, yeah, basically, yeah.
But the separate VODs are just like VODs from the actual long VODs already, no? Or is this new VODs?
There's like... I'll go.
Yeah, there was some stuff that was on like side stages that wasn't on the main stream that they said was going to be uploaded.
Oh, they uploaded that too? Oh, I didn't even see that.
I don't know if it's up yet. I don't know if it's up yet. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but it was mentioned at the convention that stuff would be uploaded.
All of those VODs, Octavian has all of the files, so if you need any of them, message him, and he'll hook you up.
Yeah, I mean, it does come at a small fee, but, you know, you just get in touch,
Oh, that's kind of weird, though. They uploaded the live streams, but not the stuff that wasn't shown?
Soon.
Soon,
yeah, they've got to sort through like 30 terabytes, I think they said, of footage.
What? No way.
Yeah.
30? No.
High quality, dude. High quality.
That's a real high quality right there. I remember one time there was a thing where Tarke was recording the entire podcast. He was worried it's going to be like big. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be huge. It was like 2 gigs or something. It was 4 hours of talking.
Yeah, so
no way.
I was recording it at the best quality possible. It might have been slightly scuffed, like 320p or something.
Yeah,
but,
I think that's...
Yeah. Raiz was really concerned, like, are you going to be okay? Like, we've gone on for a long time. Like, no, I'll be fine. Open it up. Because it was like 2.3 gigs. I was like, okay, so let's go. We'll go down and then across. So Ziggy and Amie, you might need to like lean over Ziggy to get to the microphone. How's ExileCon and everything been for you guys?
Go.
No, you go first.
No, you go.
You're the one
You hang up. ExileCon was phenomenal, and the best part about it was like hanging out with people in real life. Yes, Tarke. I'm wearing the jumper we bought together, Tarke. I'm wearing the sweater we bought when we went shopping together.
He hasn't watched it yet. That's great.
I haven't.
It smells like him.
I actually haven't.
It smells like holiday. Oh my god.
It smells like holiday.
It does.
You didn't have to leave.
Oh, it smells like ExileCon.
It smells like Tarke.
Oh
Sell
god. You gotta get ill again. Don't do that.
Sell the smell.
Yeah,
sell the
God,
smells.
you're right.
Can't food.
It's probably covered in viruses. Amie got very sick. Amie was horrendously sick. And I got somewhat sick on a bit of a delay after that, so I probably caught it off Amie.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, if I get sick because we're sleeping in the same bed, I'll get sick. And then you got sick, and how did you feel?
Yeah, it was alright. I just chilled and played some games. And since then I've been playing Kenshi for the past few days, finally streaming some Kenshi, and it's super fun. Like Tarke, I'm holding off on the playing PoE action. I don't feel the need to play any more Blite for now. Wait for the 3.9. What about you?
So got home, was pretty damn sick. Actually, it was we finally got home. It was a long drive all the way back from ExileCon. There was an accident on the road. It was like super major stuff. Got home and the next morning I woke up, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling so well. And that was like 2.5 days of just being in bed. And I finally crawled out, got my little Switch out, and found Dragon Quest Builders 2. It's so cute and fun, and it told me what to do, because that's just what I needed while I was recovering, to be told what to do. Not bad. Didn't listen to anything you had to. yeah, so that's what I've been doing, recovering with a cute little video game.
Nice.
Before we get on to Octavian, now the Einhar cosplay is finished with, like, what's the next crafting project?
So I actually did a breakdown stream of it and my whole experience of my first ever cosplay thing, which was pretty fun, and I found all the damage. So I'm gonna rebuild it. I spent so many hours and time and money on it, so I'm gonna rebuild it and adjust a few things. But I'm really happy with how it worked out, and now I'm gonna take those lessons forwards into Piety, which was the first one I was gonna make. I don't know, there might be some other people doing Piety, but we'll see. And if they tell us when another ExileCon will be, then maybe PoE 2 will have some more content out with some more characters that we can inspire from. But yeah,
for sure.
I'd like to do Piety's big bell and a hat.
A ridiculous metal skirt that you
Yeah.
won't be able to move in.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to
Yeah.
talk to Kitten Cat Noodle about this. I think she did a Piety cosplay too.
Oh really?
Yep.
Cool. I hadn't seen anyone do her in the past, so cool.
What about you, Octavian? What cosplays are you working on now?
My chat has been trying to convince me to do a Tane Octavius cosplay because you know, name overlap.
Just get like
I don't know
with
where I
Mountain
could get
Dew
it
or something.
Yes,
Your
like a
audio setup's
fishbowl
too
that's
good.
like spray painted slightly off green. As far as what I've been up to, I mean, I've been playing Blite League, AMA. No, I have actually been writing out the end of Blite League and solo self-found. I've been playing around with mines because I didn't get a chance to do that for most of the beginning of the league, and I wanted to see how the rework was. I like it. I still like old mines. I kind of wish we could have both, but I'm gonna stop beating that particular dead horse. And yeah, I actually managed to avoid getting ill from the con, but I've been struggling to get my sleep schedule off of New Zealand time, which means for the time zone that I'm actually in, I've been waking up at 1 p.m. and going to bed at like 3 a.m., which isn't great. But
Can relate, yeah.
yeah. The convention was excellent, and it's been worth it.
You don't want to talk about how great it was meeting me or anything? I'm not saying I got you all here just to talk about me. But...
No, actually, you know, I do have a story about how great Tarke is. Tarke's flight was 3 hours later than mine at the airport, and I hate airports with a burning passion. And he was still nice enough to come along 3 hours earlier than he needed to keep me company there. Tarke did a good thing, and we got to acknowledge that, because maybe he'll do another one.
Good point, Tarke.
You say that was Tarke being nice, but I've grown to know Tarke, and that was just Tarke wanting to be there early as fuck so that he didn't miss his flight.
I'm trying to give him credit here, Ziggy.
For getting kicked out of his hotel early.
I mean, you're not wrong on that. He did have to check out very early.
Yeah, I did have to check out pretty early.
I'm so surprised.
Every time all the streamers had to like go somewhere or be somewhere, it was like, we're all useless.
Yeah.
We're all just so useless. We're all like kind of milling about, doing random things, getting distracted. And Taki's like, come on, everybody. We got to go to the thing. Wrangling everyone up, organizing the messages and stuff like that.
That, I will admit, that was like increasingly stressful. So one of the things which was really fun about ExileCon is we got to meet loads of viewers, but that meant that every 5 minutes, someone would get asked to like take a picture. So then it's like, oh, well, Noogie's taking a picture, so it's fine. We'll just talk to this guy. And then by the time Noogie had finished, then Raiz is chatting to someone. And there are multiple times where I had to be like, excuse me, stop talking to Raiz, you need to move. And yeah. So sorry if that happened to you.
Was out, Shepherd.
Imagine being Rachel and organizing all of this stuff and everything. It was funny, actually. She was like, I wasn't late anywhere. I was everywhere where I needed to be, but apparently it turns out I'm the hardest person to get a hold of. Yeah. And I didn't know what she meant by that. Well, it turned out I was logged into a different Discord the whole convention. Back in, and I had like 40 messages from her just going like, oh, you gotta be here and this, that. But I was never late, so it was okay.
If it's any consolation, I think I was the only person who was late for something on the first day because I got really engrossed in the PoE 2 demo and was like 10 minutes late for my own signing session. Yeah. Which I still feel horrible about.
Is kind of like peak narcissism.
Look, PoE 2 is really good. This is my excuse.
To be fair, there were like a group of 10 people behind you while this was happening, and every time somebody went, "Should we just tell him?" Somebody else just went, and then it just kept going, and eventually I walked away, and yeah, you were 10 minutes late. So sorry. It was a team effort for you to be late.
Oh.
What about you, Azu? Were you late to any of your own panels?
No, I was on time, I'd say. Rachel was happy with me. I was even super early because for some reason on the day where I had my panel, there were a lot of people who needed like the makeup and all the behind the scenes stuff. And so I was like an hour early already. And then I was just sitting around and talking to my 2 interview partners, and it was pretty cool. So, oh, had fun there.
Out of the 2 of them,
Azu
who was your
on
favorite?
fire.
They're probably watching. It's important that you put them on the spot.
Falling for that bait. They were both super cool. So
It was like Sam and who was the other
Ed.
one? Sam
and Ed, yeah.
Is that it? You don't
Yeah,
want
and
to say
other
like
than
how
that-
nice I was at the con or anything, or?
No.
So Noogie, how was ExileCon for you? You had a good time? Let's hang out with Tarke or anything?
That's great. It was probably one of the best times I've ever had, I think,
Aw.
overall. No, it was
Yeah,
it was
really
great.
cool,
Yeah. Kind of. I think one thing that stood out to me is like how much I'm looking forward to playing PoE again. So all in all, great success.
Oh, so you've been blighting it up.
No. But I have I don't know, Blite still sucks. I'm just gonna say that.
God,
But
the odd man out.
I have been planning like the next 2 weeks are like fully booked with PoE stuff leading into the next league. So it's good. It's good stuff. I like it.
Nice. Do you have like a plan for next league already? Like if you're gonna...
Bussing? Bussing?
Yeah, a lot of people have been thinking about bossing.
Bussing? Sounds fun.
Yeah.
I like doing that. We'll see. Maybe we'll like once that thing is over, we could maybe push to 100, see what's left of the field. We'll see.
So you're not
I
really
wonder
planning
if
on
you
racing
always-
or anything, or
Hmm?
you're not planning on racing, or just going straight for the bosses?
We'll see.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Azu? I cut you off.
I wonder if you always, for the metamorphosis, get the same outcomes with the bosses when you're doing like the changing the boss, or is it like random outcome? Does anyone know?
So the way it works, from how it was explained to me when me and Octavian were in the offices, humble brag. When you go through the zone and you kill enemies, you get specific like oils, or it's just oils or toxins, whatever they want to call them.
Specimens.
Sorry, you get specific specimens from each enemy, and then you'll have like a log full of them. They automatically goes into this own thing. You don't have to like pick them up. And then you select which oozes you want to put in. So, for example, like if it was this podcast, it's like I've killed Raiz, I've killed Noogie, I've killed Ziggy. I've got like Amie, Azu, and Octavian in the back, but I don't want to use those. So like I've like made a Raiz and Noogie hybrid, and then it will like rotate between them, and then it has like all the different abilities based on that. And yeah.
Okay, but you can like decide what.
Yeah, you decide like what goes in. But the one thing that I don't understand is there's meant to be like a special like super map version where it gets like really wackadoo, and I don't know how that works. Do you remember, Octavian?
I'm
Like
not
the-
sure what you're referring to.
So wait, hang on.
like-
Is wackadoo a weird word? I feel like that got too much.
It's funny.
Started
It's funny
giggling.
word. Wackadoo. I like it.
Anyways, so each zone like has its own specimen collection sheet, if you want to think of it that way. And when you go from one zone to another, that resets. So if you're like running through Act 1 and you're going through the tidal island and you're collecting things and you don't finish collecting enough to like fill out this sheet, whatever they're going to call it, and then you go to the mudflats, you're not taking anything from the tidal islands with you to the mudflats. Like the monster that you build in the mudflats is out of pieces from the mudflats. The monster you build in the tidal islands is out of pieces from there. And then there's also like when you defeat that enemy in that zone, you get an item that you can then bring back to Tane Octavius in his lab, and I think that's where you can build the bigger bosses.
Right, that makes sense.
That's my impression of it, at least.
No, yeah, because I remember we were saying it's kind of like a zone by zone bestiary 2.0 kind of thing.
Which I feel like they need to communicate that really clearly in the first few
Yeah.
acts. Otherwise, they're going to have people like collecting a few things in the first zone, going to the next one and being like, "What the fuck? Why did I lose all of my stuff?" Like they need to tutorialize that really well.
So are we gonna have to like just before we leave each zone, open a menu and then like activate a boss? And, like,
The
be able to do that?
there's some button in the menu you can hit that allows you to activate all that sort of thing. And on doing that, that's where the NPC shows up. So you don't have to like go to him somewhere in the zone. He comes to you, apparently.
Weird.
I feel like they've gotten better in most cases at doing tutorials for these leagues. It was maybe one or two step back.
I don't know. Blite wasn't so clear, right? We all didn't know at the beginning if the monsters are coming out are like susceptible to the element or. What?
Yeah, actually, Blite dropped the ball. And I was thinking of leagues before Blite.
Okay.
Just already
Even
forgotten. League's still going. Doesn't matter. Already done.
Oh yeah, didn't they announce that they're implementing Blite?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really
10%
triggered about
spawn
that.
rate.
We had a great
and-
idea. Octavian, tell them the good idea we had.
I mean, it's not a replacement for Blight, but what I want them to do, because Bestiary is, in my opinion, a sad, frail shell of its former self, is add in a Blighted Roa beast that drops a Blighted map when you use it in the Menagerie. Obviously, this wouldn't be a replacement for Blight as a league, but just a way of like augmenting Bestiary a little bit. And you've already got Blighted Roa models in the game, and you've already got, you know, Blighted maps in the game, and you've got Einhar in the game. All the pieces are there. Just smush them together and give Einhar another beast. He's sad.
And the
That
thing
would
which
be
is,
a reason for me to
Oh.
care about Einar finally. So.
yeah, and the thing which was particularly cool / lame about it is we were talking about this when we were in the office to like some of the programmers, and they were like, "Oh, that'd be super easy for us to implement." And then we said it again in front of Rory, and Rory was like, "That's a really cool idea." So I was like, "Oh, cool, we had a cool idea." And they're like, 10%. And it's
I mean, if they want oils and stuff to be accessible, that can't be the only way that Blight gets thrown.
no,
into the
it, like
game.
they could have done.
I just think it'd be a
both.
nice little extra bonus.
I'm not saying it's a better idea because we came up with it, but I mean,
But
hey,
it is.
Hey, you have
Is
to
this a
admit,
group effort?
the Blighted Rower thing was all me. You had the fancy idea. I was like, well, we have Blighted Rowers, so it makes sense from this point of view. They wouldn't even have to make any new models. It was a team effort.
All right, I'll give you some credit.
Remind me
Yeah,
how
they
you got
just
into
know.
the office that day.
I love how-
we took an Uber.
Who ordered that Uber? I did. I ordered that Uber and I paid for it. But no, I +1'd Octavian in. So anything which comes out of Octavian's mouth contractually belongs to me. There is a royal we.
You guys can tell that there's a lot of stress right now because they're both got their Chaos Orb stress balls
She's got
out.
the stress balls. the stress balls that are actually really difficult to actually like go for.
I got my little plushie.
And the
friend,
Roa.
too.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Still got everything sealed up. Didn't unpack yet.
One thing I will say though is when you take the thing off the
What
What
are
the
you doing
fuck
there?
did you
they actually
Make 'em right
transform it really easily.
Oh my
Like they
God.
like lock in. It's great. It's like look at that. It's compact.
That
This
is-
was clearly what they intended. Anyway, when
I've
you
seen people banned for less on Twitch.
when you remove the tag from your rower, this is how they're meant to be sold. Anyway, when you remove the tag, you can kind of see like there's this scuff here.
Now we can't.
No, I
see.
can't.
It's off
No,
camera.
it's
What a
move it.
No,
fucking
we
Yeah.
mess.
can't see, but the stream
The
can
stream
see.
can
I-
see.
yeah.
I've got two different
I
cameras
see.
here. You can see it there.
Okay.
Yeah. They like proper tagged through it, so be careful about removing it. You don't notice it on this guy because this guy's like furry, but you notice it really badly on that. So that was a slight fail. Actually, that's a point.
Oh, bro.
What was everyone's favorite merch from the thing? I'm just curious.
There were like 4 things.
Oh, the spitter.
The map. I like
I have to say the spitter because I
Spitter?
got it directly
Yeah.
from my heart.
Yeah.
Oh
he
yeah, do you
caught
want
it.
to tell everyone about
Just
your
the cat.
total not streamer RNG? I think it's bullshit that you got that, by the way.
I didn't get it. I fought for it. Okay.
Seriously?
People tried to get the spitter. Ironheart threw it. I want to say I tried hard to get it, but no, it was easy. It was fucking easy. It was a room of nerds. People barely got out of their chair, and the people who did stand up fell down. So it was
It's that
kind
height advantage, right?
I was
Yeah,
gonna be
well.
so nice to you. I feel like it was coming straight for my head, Raiz, and I was just sitting there with all of my
Oh, you were
cosplay on
one
me
of-
going,
Oh,
no, it's just gonna hit me in the face. You know, whatever, it's coming. And you were just like, knight in shining armor, stood up casually,
Yeah,
grabbed it while all
saved
these other
you.
nerds fell down. It was
yeah.
really,
Mhm.
really romantic, actually.
Didn't mean to call you a nerd, Amie. Sorry.
For anyone who is very confused by all of that, during the opening ceremony, when Einar had his 3-hour comedy special, he started throwing stuff into the audience and passed one basically directly into Raiz's hands.
It was really weird. I rewatched a little bit of the opening stuff. Twitch chat did not enjoy Ironheart, but when you were there, it was like the most fun thing ever.
Yeah.
Mm.
My favorite part of it was just anytime there was a moment of silence, you could just hear Amie gasping for air as she was laughing. It's just like, you're looking like, I'm just looking over. Amy's there trying to catch breath.
I got a
It was
video
all
of that, by
planned.
the way.
People thought that it was like he was just winging it and stuff. No, it was all scripted. He wasn't buying time or anything.
No,
It was
no,
good
no.
shit.
No. He went off script. The thing which happened is everyone thought that they were trying to get him to delay for like Chris and that lot. That isn't what happened. He went off his own script, and Chris was trying to get him off stage so he could announce.
What?
See, that would make sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
Ziggy has a good. I feel like everybody's got a Nineheart story. Wasn't it you, Ziggy, that had like?
My Ro McCoy, one of my viewers, she said Einhard came up to her and said to it, whispered into her ear, "You're a naughty girl, aren't you?"
Which I could totally imagine, because I've seen him like walk up to women and like hit on them immediately, and then eventually, once everybody was kind of like, ugh, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm the voice of Einhard." Everybody's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, he was in his element, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I guess it was a lot of fun.
He was a big character, big personality. Apparently has background in theater, so enjoys the stage and enjoyed his. I think he enjoyed his thing at ExileCon, but he was fantastic. Like he was in
Yeah.
character a lot of the time. I think Amie was saying. So someone was asking where the Nico voice actor was, and he's like, "Nico's in here too."
So cool, yeah.
Really
Yeah, I
cool
met him
video.
behind the stage too, and I was asking him to do a Nico for me. And then he was also like covering and starting doing it. So cool.
I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for like accusing someone of like sexual assault or something. Can we like go off the Einhard slightly rapey stories? 'Cause
It was
What?
the impression I got from
It was
everyone
just
that it was all
fun.
just kind of fun. It
just
was a
kind of
character,
okay.
yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
more like
We were having fun
than
until you used the
threatened.
R word. What
Okay.
the fuck, Tarke?
I
Tarke.
mean,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Tarke.
personally,
Come on, mate.
if Einhard was like saying shit into my ear, I'd be a bit weirded out. I don't know.
I'd
He
love
asked
it.
me to have babies with him, Taki.
Yeah.
Told me to track him down to his cave and would have some babies.
To be honest, I would totally believe it. If you just said it, I'd be like, oh yeah, fine hard. I can
Do
see
it,
that.
man.
She was in Einhard cosplay, so I
True.
think that fits. I think it was entertaining.
Yep.
Since we're talking about making people uncomfortable, one of
Tarke's
my
taking his
highlights.
ball again.
Yeah, back to the stressful. That's the stressful.
Yeah, how do you feel about having 7 people and all this room to talk, Tarke?
It's
Suddenly
great, it's
not
great.
such a good idea, huh?
Raiz, do you remember what you said when we went to makeup?
I don't remember anything, dude.
So this
Ever.
was before the live Baeclast. We had to go backstage for makeup, and as we were going into makeup, the Zana voice actor was coming out of makeup.
Oh no, did I was pretty shell shocked. Did I do something?
Basically, you opened. You know when you open a door, as someone else is opening a door. Basically, that happened. She came out, and the first thing you said, the only thing you said, was,
Oh no, don't say it.
I don't remember this.
What?
No, tell your fictional story. That never happened.
yeah. So basically, I was writing some fan fiction the other day, and someone totally not Raiz, Quinn. So basically, Quinn opened this door, and he was like, "Damn!" And then she looked at Quinn like, "The fuck?" And then Quinn was like, "Oh, that was cringe. I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, no. She was smiling. She was used to nerds, okay? I'm sure it was a totally normal exchange. To be fair, though, I didn't see her the rest of the convention, so I think
Maybe
it's
she
maybe
was
for the
just
best.
running away.
Yeah.
I think my goal is to have by the end of this, we've all just got the stressor about. We're all just like,
Gonna
Yeah.
unpack mine.
Nice.
Okay then. So to kind of go through it in a somewhat more like coherent manner, starting with you, Niggy, of all of the
Mhm.
things announced at ExileCon, what was like the thing which got you going the most?
This is a terrible question.
Fuck. Okay,
This is
fine,
like
Niggy.
an-
Say what you want to say.
No.
What do you mean by
I was
got you
asked this-
going?
I was
Like-
asked this yesterday as well, and it's just I don't know.
So
Like,
you,
what
what
is-
you're
what-
saying is you've had a whole day to prepare and you still don't know.
I don't know.
How am I gonna? Like, what's the best thing?
Okay,
out
fine.
of
What
it?
was the worst thing?
The implementation of Blite?
Whoa.
Yeah, but
That was
that was
easy.
That wasn't an
ExileCon.
ExileCon.
What?
That wasn't an
They did
ExileCon.
that thing where they asked the
I
audience.
mean, he did go through the audience. I
They
mean,
took
that's
a
where I
vote.
learned about it. That was at ExileCon.
okay.
So I mean, that's like that was the worst thing of all that. I don't know. I think like the overall just 2.0, like everything they're trying to do with it. I think that it is very important that they are adding a full new playthrough that has like a streamlined playthrough rather than the 1 to 2 and then a 3 on top and then the 4 on top and then like, oh, let's make a 5 to 10 and then everything is kind of smushed together and it just feels weird to play through. Like it doesn't feel cohesive. So playing the demo and trying that and just actually getting a feel of wanting to like learn more about the story and the lore was something that really stood with me.
See, that's
It's way more cohesively intertwined to
Yeah.
like to the gameplay as well. It feels like a much more complete world.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing to patch up their weaknesses, it seems. You know, a lot of the time Path of Exile has been developed to its strengths. They've been very good about adding depth and adding complexity and always designing to target that niche, but now it seems like they've got the budget and time and they're expanding to try and patch over a lot of the things they've been criticized on in the past, which is, you know, the lore omega lol and the smoothness of gameplay and the visual aspects of the game and the clutter and all that sort of thing. You know, it's all being aggressively targeted in PoE 2.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask Raiz in particular, because I know that you normally care about lore in games, but I don't think you've ever really been that interested in like PoE lore. With PoE 2, could you see yourself actually getting into the lore now?
I mean, I used to do like RP playthroughs of PoE, which I liked a lot. So I was kind of into the lore, but like at face value. But I haven't played PoE 2.
You never got
Actually,
to play it?
I never got to play it. So I did play the mobile game. It was lit, bro. Wow. But I didn't get to play the demo. No, there was never time.
Yeah, it was crazy. You were just so busy there.
Yeah.
No time.
But yeah, I can see myself getting into the lore for sure. If it's a good story, you know. Hey, Tarke, what's your favorite top 3 movies?
In
Ah,
Bruges,
see how that feels?
Billy
I got
Liar,
you.
and then Raiz's mom's home movies. Those are my top three.
Yeah. You can't get out of here.
See, a much better way to ask is there anything that stood out to you? Because then you get to decide if there
Fine
is
then.
like, and
Noogie.
it's like
No,
nothing
no,
is
fuck
nothing
it, fuck
is
you,
great.
fuck you, Noogie. Was there anything that stood out to you at ExileCon?
The socket system as well. I think that's really it's a good step forward, especially when you think about the Peewee's progression. That stood out to me. I mean, just everything. I mean, this ExileCon in general, like the people there, the passion people had, the attitude the people had. Like, I don't know. It's just you can pretty much pick and choose any aspect of the ExileCon, and it's almost all gonna be good.
It's funny that you
Yeah,
say
agreed.
people because that was like the overall thing for me. It's like once I started realizing that these are just like dudes, these are like actual people, it completely blew my fucking mind. Like we were at a bar, half drunk, really embarrassing, and then we met Trishy, who apparently designed like
Everything.
Yeah.
all unique items
Yeah,
since
since
Everything
Blite.
for Breach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Breach,
and I was just like, yeah, right, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I actually did that as well, you know. And then I started asking him questions and shit, and he was responding to everything, and he knew everything. He had like a process for everything. It actually blew my fucking mind so
Yeah.
hard that this is like
Mm.
a single person being able to do something like that. And that was the case for a lot of the GGG developers, where yeah, they're just seem superhuman, but at the same time they're just like nerds, you know.
Azu, because
Something
you
I was
spent
very
a lot of time. Is your name Azu Noogie? No, fuck you.
no.
You spent a
At
lot
the
of
same
time.
time. Hello.
So you spent
Go.
a lot
It's
of.
okay. Tarke's only this aggressive to the regular cast. You guys are safe.
Yeah, it's
You
fine,
need a
it's fine.
bigger stress ball, Tarke. Shit.
I need to get more. I need more of them. Anyway, so on that note, you've started off now. Anyway, I remember speaking to you before your interview, then right after your interview, and how nervous you were about it. What was the moment for you when you realized this is just like a person who just makes the game? Like, when did you then like relax and go, oh, they're just people?
Well, that was already happening before the interview because I had the chance to talk to them for like half an hour, pretty much. And yeah, they were just really cool, and we talked about a lot of things. And yeah, this was really, really nice for me because I was just going on the stage with the people together, and I already knew who I'm talking to. It wasn't like, oh God, who's that now sitting beside me here? It was already like some connection there, and that was pretty awesome.
What about Amie, with your interview with Eric that you weren't at all nervous for? How was that?
No, I was completely fine the entire time. Yeah, nerves of steel, this one. I really regret that I spent so much time freaking out over my cosplay and trying to make that until like 1 a.m. the night before instead of memorizing my questions. So there's definitely things I'd like to improve, and I really hope that I have the opportunity to interview more people and learn more. But I really enjoyed seeing Eric's eyes light up when he talked about things, which maybe didn't translate very well to the stream because we were talking very much to each other. Sorry about that, everyone. I was trying to be inclusive, but it just ended up being more of a thing that we were just having a conversation back and forth. And the way that he was just like, ooh, art. You know, you could see it shining out of him and everything, and how proud he was to show everyone. And I personally, when we were watching the keynote, just the ranger running, I was like, what? This is insane. Run! And it wasn't even the most impressive thing, but yeah, all of the animations and everything were mind-boggling. So it was really, really great to talk to Eric about all of the art that's coming up.
The most fun
Compared to,
part
like-
of that. Oh, sorry.
You
I'm
go-
doing
go
it.
right.
The most fun part about that entire thing is that Amy's like the biggest bowl of energy I've ever seen ever, and Eric is just like super laid back, like relaxed to the point of like Dracula levels where you never really know.
It's
And
my
to see,
immediate
like-
comparison as well.
Because you know you respect Dracula, but at the same time you're scared of him. You know, that's it. That's how I describe Eric, and him like trying to like match Amie's energy. That was very entertaining to look
Yeah,
at. for
Amie
sure.
got him real hyped during the interview too.
Yeah,
You could really
that was
see
really
that.
fun.
It was so cool. Such a good show.
Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say as well. Like compare like Chris and Jonathan, who are like million-mile-an-hour talkers, especially if they start talking together, they get faster and faster. They're like bundles of hype. Eric is like the opposite of that. Like he's intelligent, he's quiet, he's considered in his
He's
like
the
way that
opposite. He's
he
intelligent.
interacts with.
Oh no. Cut it.
Things don't
cut
have to
it.
be opposite.
There was one quite funny Eric story from The Office, and he didn't even really do anything. But for anyone who hasn't been in The Office, Raiz. Basically, the way it looks is you've got like loads of computers, and then you've got like a triple glass office space. It's like Jonathan, Chris, Eric, and you can see through everything. And then they've got like little separate doors. Then more computers, then like a separate like eating chart area. And I can't even remember what we said, but Octavian and me were in Chris's office, which is the middle, and I said something about the art and Eric, and then Eric kind of like opened his door. He didn't fully enter, he kind of like stuck his head in, said like 2 words, and then was like, and then retreated back. It was perfect. But yeah. Also, Niggy, I would like to apologize for snapping earlier. I'm totally not stressed out by having this many people on Baeclast. Who was your favorite developer that you got to hang out with while you're in New Zealand?
My favorite developer?
Sorry, what developer stood out?
Did it again? I don't know if that's better in this game.
Who stood out? I mean, there's a few. So the first one, who you guys also talked about just earlier, Harishi, because we share some of the same games. So we both play Media and Excel, and we love the way like the item design on some of those games. So that was like really cool to talk about. Like he is a big fan of the like the mana style builds in. So Media and Excel is a Diablo 2 mod, and there's like a build there where you like get damage off mana, and it's like really cool. So yeah, that was really cool that we could talk about that. And he's just, I don't know, he's like so excited, and he's such a nerd because he just plays way too much PoE like everyone else at the office, which was like pretty cool. Then Neon is the same in terms of like just how much he actually plays the game. I mean, just from talking to these two, I mean, they will have like a full day at work, and then they'll come back home and then play until they fall asleep, and then go back to work the next day and not take breaks. It's pretty insane. So that's pretty cool. I mean, everyone stood out, like everyone I got to talk to. So yeah, but like these two in particular, just because they like, I don't know, we're kind of similar in how we enjoy games, I think. So yeah, I'll have to pick those.
What about you, Octavian?
In regards to GGG devs specifically, God, it's not a fun question.
It's fine. They're all watching this and taking notes.
Literally every developer, every person that I met from Grinding Gear Games was just so genuine. Such a powerfully genuine and kind human being. And all of them were so... It's a word that gets thrown around a lot in the game development world and game design and in general, but like the P word, passion. Everybody there seemed to absolutely adore what they were doing, and on top of that, adore ExileCon and just be so excited that they were able to get people together and meet people, and like Raiz said earlier, humanize things. So I don't know that I can point out a favorite. You know, Orion was excellent to talk to. Nick, the guy who did the narrative design and who's writing all the voice lines for Tana Octavius, we sat next to him at the VIP dinner, as I'm sure you recall, and that was like that was one of the most fascinating conversations I've ever had in my life. Just being able to talk over. He did a lot of the early unique design before he transitioned into narrative design, but mostly the conversation was about narrative design, and I really want to get him on Baeclast because he's very what's the word I'm looking for, effervescent, I guess. Like he's very, very talkative about what he wants to do, about what he likes, and I think he'd be an excellent addition to the show. So if he's out there listening, there's a standing invite provided Tarke's okay with it.
I mean, he agreed to do it because I had like the best panel for me wasn't the live Baeclast. Sorry, guys. It was the podcast I did with the Front Seat Gamer guys, which is Nick, Blake, Savon. And afterwards, I was like, so, like, Front Seat Gamer X Baeclast? And they were like, yeah, we want to do it. Nick's great. No, Nick's really good. And that was also one of the really fun things as well, because he also hosts a podcast that we were kind of, like, battling with each other. I'm like, I'm hosting. No, I'm hosting. And it was just kind of fun the way that we're doing it. And it was kind of like, we were, like, tag teaming the other two. It was good. It was a lot of fun. But not to confuse Nick with Cool Nick. Not that not Cool Nick isn't cool, but there's cooler Nick. He might be out there. He's a programmer who watches Baeclast. I was talking about this a little bit, is I was kind of worried that when we went out there, there'd be a couple of devs who were like, oh, it's these guys who complain about what we do. Like, oh, it's Tarke, you know. But there are actually like a lot of people who are just like, oh my god, I love Baeclast. I don't always... We did have a couple, I don't always agree with what you say, but they were like really into it, and that was really fun. And
nice.
Yeah. Also, Natasha, if you're out there, thank you again for snubbing Ziggy and Crep. I will cherish that always. But yeah.
You needed that boost.
It was good. It was good. For anyone who hasn't heard me tell this story a million times, this was the day before ExileCon, and it was Ziggy, Crip, and myself opening it. And we were outside, like, trying to plan stuff. Also, just take a moment, Rania is a machine. So, because there were, like, the three of us out to the side, people were, like, coming up regularly, like, oh, can I get a picture with Crip? Or, like, nice to meet you and whatever. And she was really good at being like, no, police, stop. And then she'd wait until there was, like, a pause in the conversation. She's like, now, picture, pew, 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 go. And, like, the way she operates is so great. She's got such, like... She's also, like, looking at her, you wouldn't think, like, how insanely efficient she is. But it's kind of like, I could so easily see her being like a raid leader or something for a guild. She's got the energy like to a T. It's great. But yeah, so while we were doing this, Natasha, who works at GGG, came up and she like wanted to say hello, and Crip started doing the like, oh, hello, and she's like, no, Tarke. I was like, yes. So yeah. I only tell that story like 3 times a day, every day. So.
You see yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
I
it,
practice
so
it. Yeah,
wasn't to me.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me, Tarke.
So yeah, we can just finish there. That was really the only story I wanted to tell. Okay, so since a lot of people have asked about it, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, what was everyone's reactions to the Metamorph announcement in particular? Starting with Ziggy and Amie.
I think I was still reeling from the 2.0 stuff. The fact that they were all just chained one into each other without any break between them, it was kind of like my mind was still reeling from everything else, and it's just kind of like I blinked and the Metamorph trailer was over. I was like, oh, there's some like cool looking shifting stuff. Okay, it's kind of like, oh yeah, and also this thing. Normally the League announcement would be like the thing we're all super focused on, right? But it's like came off the back of 2.0 and the endgame rework and all the details therein. So Metamorph was like, at the time, it's like, 2.0, 4.0, Path of Exile 2.
PoE 2.
Gets me every 2. Okay.
It's okay, just stick with it. It was on purpose.
So I really had no thoughts on Metamorph when it was first announced, other than, oh, changing things, cool, looks awesome. Mostly my attention was on the endgame stuff in Theory 2. That's the honest truth. I hope we're looking for more, something to branch the conversation off, perhaps make the podcast flow.
I'll take it from here, yes, both of us. I thought it was pretty cool how it seemed like the animation that they used for the Ranger shifting into the werewolf form and everything was pretty similar to Metamorph.
True.
And I was just like, yeah, they're making reusing assets. Love it. And that we can have more boss type fights going on. That's really exciting. I think.
Yes. I'm very amped for the idea of more boss fights in PoE in general, especially just like interspersed. That's both for this league being very, it's like we went from Blite had no boss fights to a league that's entirely boss fights. I do like that.
Blite had no boss fights. There's unique enemies. They're there, I promise.
It's not boss
Plenty of
fight.
bosses.
No,
Doesn't
you're
feel- it
entirely
doesn't feel
right.
like a boss
They're
fight.
basically just punching bags. Like they're
Mm.
big health bars that move at you slowly.
Yeah.
It's just like that sort of partially sums up the problem with it. You just say there's not.
I mean,
It's like
Nick
imagine
did
if
say
somebody
the
hears that
dinner,
in a
like,
vacuum.
they had plans. We started writing stuff. You can tell it's there, but there's one of the thing. I think Blite will always be that awkward league that was just like right league, wrong time because of ExileCon. It's just like.
Do you really
Imagine
think it was
somebody
the right
started-
league, though? I don't know.
Just let it have something, Nicky. Stop kicking Blite
No.
League. We can just say it was the right league at the wrong
Trying to
time.
make it something that it's not. Just like it's just a bad league. Just,
Don't you feel like
Okay.
it's half a league? Like it got halfway there?
I like. I guess I feel like I should say in defense of Blight, I actually really enjoyed it.
okay.
You know, for its time period, which was relatively short by Path of Exile standards, even. Not the shortest length of enjoyment I've ever had it in Path of Exile League, but
What was the worst one?
definitely ran out of steam. I'm trying to think of what the worst one was. I can't remember off the top of my head, honestly. But
We've
I feel
been
like
too
there's been
polite.
some
We
that
need to
maybe
bring
fell off
GGG
a bit.
back down a level.
Yeah, I think there's been some that were a little bit shorter in terms of enjoyment length that wore off a little sooner. But yeah, I think that's the thing with Blight. Like once I'd done 15 to 20 tier, 15 or whatever blighted maps, it was just kind of like, I don't know. I ran out of goals and interesting things to shoot for, and there was nothing else for me to learn. But I guess I have a bit of a different perspective than many people here because I really like Synthesis's like complexity level. And that for me means that there's like weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe even months of things to learn and figure out. So I was missing a next step.
I actually think that you're not alone in people liking Synthesis. I think a lot of people actually liked once some things got like hammered out, a lot of the bugs were fixed. I think a lot of people, when you ask them like after the fact and they like recall the good things about Synthesis, most people have something nice to say about that league, even though that maybe overall it didn't come across that great because there was like a lot of like build up to where it started feeling nice.
It was such an interesting league to like piece together the puzzle and to figure it all out. Like there was so much learning there, and then things did change, and it was really bad at the start. You're definitely right about like it was like that. I think it was like 2 weeks in or something when they kind of really started to come together, and it's like this is what they're going for. I kind of get it. I just think that the crafting is probably the biggest failing point in Synthesis.
Yeah. Except the crafting, I really enjoyed the league. I was like spending more time in the Nexus than anywhere else. I didn't even like finish my full Atlas because I was just in the Nexus all the time. So yeah, I liked it.
One thing I'm curious about what you guys think about it, because we still don't know everything there is with Metamorph. Do you think it will have enough complexity to it that will hold us like a Synthesis? Or do you think it'll be more on the Blight side of things, where it's kind of like fun?
I mean, it's dropping with Conquerors of the Atlas.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, true.
I think it will be carried in some respect by that if it doesn't have that level of complexity. And honestly, as far as crafting goes for like crafting gear for your character, I think it may be a little bit minimal on that front because it's dropping with Conquerors of the Atlas and we're gaining all the new crafting attributes in regards to that. I mean, we're getting the quality thing. They posted an Astramentus with 20% quality that had like, what was it, explicit 100-something stats instead of 90-something stats. And that's nice, kind of akin to anointing with a few extra other options potentially. But I don't think we're going to get something like Shaper or Elder bases out of it. Rather, that's going to be coming from the Conquerors expansion, and we're going to get a lot of meat on the bone in that regard.
Yes, Metamorph strike.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say.
No, you go. No, I'm talking now. So
shut up, Tarke. I'm talking here. Metamorph strikes me as a very like gameplay focused league. Like it'll just feel fun to play and fight bosses. That there won't be much more to it, like mentally speaking. And even the crafting is very simple. It's just this adds an increased chance of seeing those stats and also improves the amount of them.
I think there will be I hope actually, but I also think that there will be a pretty decent amount of depth and complexity to designing the boss that you're trying to fight, though, because I'm pretty sure, like, from what I gathered from the trailers, the part of the goal of the league and lore-wise, Tane Octavius's goal is to create the like perfect being in a way, the essence of self. That's what he's trying to discover, and that's why you have to, like, he says at the end of the trailer, you know, 2 down, only everything else left to go, or something like that. It's some catchy voice line. And the idea is that you're trying to get the exact right combination so you can figure out what the essence of being is. And so probably what that translates to gameplay wise is you're trying to get all the rarest specimens together so you can make the mega ultra boss and get some cool league unique, or get some cool crafting material that you can't get otherwise, you know. So I think there'll be experimentation and tinkering with figuring out what different combinations of specimens and different combinations of bosses will allow you to unlock.
We haven't seen any like Metamorph specific uniques, have we? Because there could maybe be some cool like build your own unique stuff going on.
I hope so. I hope so.
That would be neat.
I would expect that.
Well, GGG, if you're watching, you've got like 2 weeks to make a build your own unique. So just slide that in there.
We all want it.
Yeah. One thing that I'm curious
We
about
expect it.
Raiz, just from like a racing point of view, since 3.9 is going to completely screw up the Atlas, like what approach I'm assuming you're going to try and go for like a SSF push or something at the start. Are you just going to wait and see what Carve? You're just going to wait and see what Carve does, right?
Pretty much. I haven't thought about it. I mean, I haven't looked at anything either. It was like, especially with the 3.9 announcement, I was just like counting trailers, to be fair, because I knew that there's going to be 4 trailers. So I was like, okay, there's like 2, 3 mobile for sure, mobile. So I didn't even think about it. But yeah, I do wonder if people are going to come up with like a really solid strategy beforehand, because usually we find out things about the Atlas like at least a week, 2 weeks in, when we really like get it together. But we've got some big brains on it right now, so maybe. But there's also a lot of unknowns, so you might be basing your strategy off of something that worked completely differently. So, tricky. I do wonder why they went like all out with like you get all the red maps, when it's like completely different to what they were trying to accomplish for the longest time, where they were like, oh, you get one, you know, they were trying to do something. And then now it's not even that they kind of like leaned into another direction. It's like a complete 180. Just we're doing this completely differently now. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for it to be either fantastic or suck a lot.
You mean like in regards to being able to focus on a particular map on your Atlas?
Yeah,
and
pretty
instead
much.
now you're like farming a certain region. I don't know that I ever got the impression that they were like trying to encourage a meta focusing on a particular map. I thought that was something they were attempting to combat at certain points, you know, where they were like
Really?
buffing, say, red sextants to encourage people to do natural red maps more. And they were adding influence spreading to try and get people to, you know, spread influence and build their elder and do a variety of maps that way, but, you know, kind of blew back on them because now people are ping-ponging influence. Like, I think it's more that they were designing without necessarily having the time to consider the ramifications of every design decision. So like the intent was to get people to play a wider variety of maps, but it sometimes worked out that it went the opposite way and people were even more focused on a single one.
I think because this was over like such a long period of time, I think that they've been designing this system, and like at a certain point, everybody in the community was just like, give us more variety. We hate Strand. And GGG was like, no, we're doing it this way. And they kept doing it for like 4 or 5 more leagues where you had like one single map focus. So
I'm with Octavian on this one. I think they've always wanted players to try out different things, variety, and you know, different strats, and you can mix and match the maps you want to run versus, you know, I don't know. I really think that Octavian.
Would you say that like the whole Elder Orb thing kind of goes against that when it's like pick anything tier 16, let's go?
Oh yeah, Elder Orb was interesting too.
I mean, I guess a little bit. I mean, it's not like they don't know that everyone is going to choose eventually the best map and like juice it up as much as possible as an option. But it's such a niche thing, and I think overall they always wish that people would, you know, try and do as much as they could with the Atlas in different ways. I mean, and then just accepting the fact that endgame players will eventually end up in a certain spot, and that's
Yeah,
just
I
how
mean,
it is.
If you look at old master missions before the Slings rework, where you're doing red maps and a Zana mission will show up on a random red map or somewhere like that. Like that's them again trying to pull you. Go run Plaza now, please. Go run Crimson Temple. Stop running the map you're doing. Go do something else for a little bit.
What about Bestiary as well? Wasn't that also like wasn't there tile sets that were just strictly better compared to others?
Well, it was like some beasts were only in certain tile sets.
Beasts?
So yeah, in Bestiary League proper. Yeah, because the implementation didn't carry that over, which has always been a bit of a sore spot for me. But
just in case there are some people, I'm sure there are plenty who don't really know what the massive changes happening. Who is confident to explain how Atlas is changing in Conquerors?
I mean, I can give you an idea. So, do we know how we obtained the Watchstones yet?
Fighting the new bosses.
Yeah.
So it's only from fighting those, right? So we're probably gonna fight the new bosses at like lower tiers than yellow and then red, right?
So kind of like White Elder, yellow. I love how Ziggy's like, sure.
I think that's probably how. But you start with like so one thing. Do we know how many maps we have? On like what maps
so
we're
you're not
early on?
Then,
no, but like we might as well have a discussion. Like, do you have an idea?
What was the question?
They said they're reducing the number of tiers, right? Like there's gonna be less maps total on the Atlas, but we have more control, as far as I'm aware.
So you'll start without every map like visible. Obviously you start now without every map unlocked, but you'll start without every map even visible, which means until you go and kill certain bosses, there is no way for you to obtain, say, Dunes or whatever. And then on killing a boss and socketing the Watchstone that you get, suddenly Dunes is now in your Atlas and you can start exploring in that direction. So I don't think there's fewer maps total. I think there's fewer maps to begin with.
Saying that you start with like 90 maps. And again, you start from the middle now. So you start from the middle and then you unlock outwards and you kill a boss and you unlock like another section. And then you start with 155 total, but you're like 90, kill a boss, get like another 10, kill a different boss, get another 10. How many of the exiles are there? Is it 5? No, it's 4 because they're the 4 different orbs, right?
That I'm not sure about. My signing was right during the 3.9 deep dive, so I missed.
I think they said there's a 5th one.
I think
they showed us
4 and then like a 5th Uber dude or something.
It's like,
or is it 5?
4 bosses, 1 Uber. Chat says 4, then like 1 big boy, then a leader.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then we know that there's going to be new exalted orbs which are specific to each like boss. And then the thing just cool about that is like the orbs would work like shape influence. So like say that this is the Tarke orb. You kill Tarke, please don't. And then you use Tarke's orb to add a Tarke stat to your item. And then Octavian pick up your orb. And then if you killed Octavian, you'd get Octavian's orb.
They look the same though.
Fuck off, Ziggy. Okay, Octavian, you've got a Sharpie. Quick, deface your orb for this demonstration. So then you kill Octavian, and then you can add like Octavian stuff. And yeah.
Also, Sextons will have different stats, right? Like you don't have the same stats anymore on like white as you have on red.
Mm-hmm. They're entirely different pools, apparently, and like you can use lower tier Sextons on higher tier maps. It's just the quality of mods from the lower tier Sextons are not as good, and they also hit a whole region rather than like 3 or 4.
Pretty cool.
Or I guess 5 maps.
Also, there has to be some changes to how like Sextons will work, due to the fact that if you take a Watchstone, you Sexton it, put it in your inventory. Can you then, then you could stack the same one over and over again, and then socket all of them into your Atlas eventually.
Maybe disables them.
What, sorry?
Because like they did the whole thing with like no more fucking circles we have to worry about. So I don't know if they're not like revamping the whole thing.
Hang on, I'm actually question marking you on that. Wait, what did you say, sir? I didn't get it.
So imagine you have a Watchstone, right?
Yeah.
You Sexton it up. Then it's in your inventory. So it's not present on the map. So it's not blocking anything, right?
Okay.
It's not currently active. And then you would do it you have 4 of the same ones on different stones and then you would socket them all in.
You've already figured out the broken thing that GG is gonna have to scramble to fix.
Yeah, but maybe
Or-
that's not
Oh, I
possible. Maybe
know.
you can have one stat only one time on your account or something.
Mm.
I'm not sure that they would do a check for that sort of thing.
No, it's gonna be the whole like there's a lot of things we need to figure out like going into this. It's gonna be interesting.
I agree.
My overall impression of this whole thing is that we know a lot of weird specific details, and yes, I watched the carved video, so I feel like I have some expertise on this topic. Studied the source. I feel like we know a lot of specific details about how a lot of these things work, but my big takeaway is I feel like I just don't have a general idea of what it's going to be like to just play through the Atlas, like how that physically plays out, like how you move from map to map, and how the bosses appear, and what that progression process is like. It's so weird to have all these details, like, oh, here's what happens if you put a sexton on a watchstone and move the watchstone to another region, and how putting a watchstone in there unveils extra maps, and how you get the watchstones and all these like weird details, but just not how it actually, like, how does it play? How do you play this whole thing? The one thing I kind of do get the sense is that their idea is here that we're going to be fighting bosses more regularly than just occasionally going for like Elder and then Shaper and then Ever Elder. That there's going to be much more interspersed bosses breaking up the chaining of maps. So I like that.
I mean,
I think it's gonna be just more linear too. Like you're going into a certain direction, just doing some maps and killing a boss and getting the watchstone and then continuing there. Other than right now where you're starting like from 4 different directions and going all the way into the middle. Like I think it's more linear then.
I think one thing which should be a lot easier for newer players, because we're starting in the middle and working our way out, it should hopefully be a lot easier to unlock the Atlas, because with the old system, you kind of got to that thing where you would maybe start in a corner, you'd push your way through, maybe you've skipped a couple of tier 9s, and then you end up right up at tier 16s, and you could very easily still have like unfinished maps behind. Whereas now... I'll go on.
Go on.
Well, I was just thinking, well, now that we're kind of like pushing more in a direction and we have to kill a boss to unlock the next lot of maps, it should hopefully be a lot more... If you're someone new, you can be like, oh, what do I do? Oh, Zana's telling me to kill a specific dude. I've now go left, so now I go right. And now Zana's telling me to go bottom right and then bottom left. It might just be a bit easier to... I don't know, what are you going to say, Niggy?
I mean, you're still gonna have the holes in the if it works anywhere, like anything like it does right now, the holes will still be there. So unless they like change how map drops, like you're always gonna have those unless there's a new system in place. That's just something you can't, unless you're like actively trying to block those holes immediately, then they will appear in the new system.
Personally, I really relish this uncertainty. It's Legion and Blite have been fine leagues, but this is going to sound really harsh. They've been kind of like a bowl of tepid oatmeal for me in some ways. Like, it's okay, it gets the job done, but I really want something meaty with some endgame that I can spend a month learning how to properly approach. And like Blighted maps and Domain of Timeless Conflict don't have that. And Conquerors of the Atlas bringing an entirely new Atlas, reshuffling bosses, giving me new boss fights. Like it's what I've wanted out of Path of Exile for like 6 months now. So I like that I don't know everything going into this. That's the point.
Can I ask though? Like, people are going to figure it out really fast. Like, that's the whole thing with Peewee now. We've got, as you were saying, some big glowy brains on it. They're going to figure it out really fast. So does that take away some of the excitement for you, or are you going to ignore it, or?
So you're saying we need to kill Carve?
Yeah.
Kill Carve.
Just don't
I want to try to be one of the people figuring it out really fast. That's the fun part for me. I don't know. Since I'll be streaming the league start and all that sort of thing, I won't necessarily have the time to watch everybody else's deconstruction of the Atlas. So I'll just fumble along in the dark blindly myself, at least for a few days.
I think the one thing which is cool about it, in the sense that, I mean, someone like Carve or Grimray will like work out quite quickly, but it's not just a mapping system, because it's also these new bosses are how we're getting the special orbs. So there's then all the crafting on top of that. So there's a couple of layers to it. It's like you need to work out how the whole new Atlas system works, and then you still got to work out all the crazy crafting stuff. And there's like the hybrid orbs and the fact that it's like you could take a Tarke item and add an Octavian mod to it and then add like a Ziggy orb to it on top.
And like, even though we do have some really powerful tools for disseminating information now, like PoE Ninja and PoE Craft, and obviously the Reddit and various YouTube channels, like the Path of Exile community is more well-informed and tightly knit than it's ever been before. One of the side effects of that as well is that like ideas about what the correct approach is gets solidified really quickly, and that new approach, whatever it ends up being, may be a good one, but a lot of people are just looking for the new good thing to do, and will jump on that and won't explore another few steps forwards. So while I'm sure a meta will crystallize fairly quickly at the start, I don't think it'll be the correct one. Or I don't think it'll be the only one, at the very least.
Hopefully.
I mean, sexton blocking took a long time.
Yeah,
It was like people got an idea. Yeah, I mean,
well.
it was like 3-4 weeks, which is pretty significant. And I mean, they also did talk about like slowing down the game and everything. It might be that they might put a lot more emphasis on having like a steady progression through the Atlas over a longer period of time, rather than kind of how randomized it is in a lot of people's cases right now, where people go, I can't get into red maps because RNG. Maybe they're trying to avoid that in a way, but also extend kind of how long it takes to get to the end game. But that being said, also they were displeased with how long the campaign takes right now in PoE. So maybe they're trying to make everything last a little bit less. I don't know. It's tricky.
But do you want to make the campaign last shorter?
Yeah, they were talking about how they feel like the current campaign, it takes a little bit too long for the average player to get to maps, and they want like the 7 acts to be shorter than that, and probably they're gonna make like a little bit of an effort to make the current campaign also a little shorter.
Well,
Which
also
makes sense,
they
I
had the
think.
issue there as well that they didn't want to have the situation where they put all this work into the new campaign, and let's say it's just like an hour longer. Players are players, and they'll be like, "Well, I'm not going to play the longer campaigns. I want to play PoE 1 because that's faster." So they kind of had the double issue there.
You do get the different ascendancies, right? You actually have to play through the specific campaign to get the ascendancy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna, once they start announcing like how big of a deal the ascendancies are, and I think they've already shown some things. Remember people screaming about something with arrows at some point.
So I didn't get to watch all of them because this was right before our Baeclast, so we all actually had to run out halfway through that panel. But I did take a couple of pictures on my phone. I just scrolled past all the Raiz nudes. If you give me a sec, I can show you some. But I saw the tactician. So I'm just gonna read some random mods from the thing. So this was Division. Gems sockets in your weapon grant 2 skills, one supported by greater multiple projectiles and the other by barrage. That I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really nice, yeah.
Then they had like the in-between nodes where you could pick one of 3. This was the same ascendancy. You could pick either projectiles pierce twice, skills chain +1, or projectiles fork, which is all pretty cool. Then they had multiplication. Each second, your next projectile skill fires +1 projectile, stacking up to +5. And one thing which is cool is from all of the ones I've just read, they don't specify like projectile attack, so you could also use these as spellcasters, which is pretty cool. And then this one I really liked, Spell Avoidance. Grants the Spell Avoidance skill. While Spell Avoidance is active, your chance to dodge attack hits instead applies to spells. And while Spell Avoidance is active, your evasion rating is converted to Spell Evasion rating. And then we had to then go to our panel. So we didn't see any more of that. But apparently there was like the Tarke cat ascendancy, which is all around cats. And the thing which was fun about the Tarke cat ascendancy is, Ziggy, if you remember, at the start when it's like, what do you want to see in like announced? And I was like, more cats. And you were like, no. They did it.
I love how you address them the second their microphone is muted because their dog's going crazy and there's nobody to.
This is the best way of addressing people. You wait until they can't respond.
And this is why cats are better than dogs. There you go. The final argument.
I've actually never had to mute my mic because of a cat. So.
Yes, but your cat hates you.
My cat loves me. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Wow.
That went from 0 to 100 very quickly.
I think Ziggy's trying to say cats hate everybody.
Not you specifically, though. It's nothing about you.
Damn, that burn.
I'm sure your cat loves you very much, Tarke. I was just kidding.
So would anyone I like want to talk now? Or?
Is there anyone left?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this out there. I feel like we're gonna be losing some Baeclast members in the coming weeks, chat. So if anyone would like to apply, you know.
You're gonna get overthrown, Tarke.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
made
I'm
us
still
realize.
inside.
Mutiny. They don't need me anymore. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Amy's your friend.
I'm still your friend for now.
Oh,
I've got
thanks.
some
For now? What the fuck? You ruined
For
it.
now.
It's a trial basis.
I think actually one thing that I think one of my most vivid memories of you, Amie, was at the convention when we were in the hotel in the lift. Do you remember this?
I mean, we were in the lift a lot.
Okay, this was it was
It's not as vivid for her.
you, Ziggy, me, and it was I think it was like after the second day or the first day or something, and I was preening my hair in the mirror, and you just laughed all the way up, and Ziggy's like, "What are you laughing at?" And you're like,
I didn't.
To be fair,
know
that's
that.
Amie always.
Yeah, this did not.
She laughs a lot, yeah.
Hi, ExileCon was
That's a good
hilarious.
thing.
There you go.
But you weren't the only one. Raiz was also printing at one point in the mirrors in the elevators.
Raiz spends a lot of time checking out his hair.
True.
Not saying anything.
Like I'm missing vital information here.
Oh, so one thing that
But
I
Tarke, you talked about elevator and fun story. I know a fun story with you too.
yeah, go on, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was funny because I was going to the hotel and Tarke was going a different direction. And then the elevator opened and Tarke was in there. You were at the same hotel. I didn't know before.
Oh,
yeah.
right, that story. Yeah, no, that one's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that elevator story.
I would
Okay.
say now.
Yeah, okay.
what's the other story?
Yeah.
There's no other story.
Yeah, no other story. No other story. It's fine. No other stories with me in elevators. No, so me. So I accidentally got in the same hotel as people, and there were like separate entrances and everything. And what made it even worse is as I got into the lift, I got off at the wrong floor. And you were just like, oh yeah, he totally meant to get off at the lobby with his 2 bags, and you pissed off. I then had to get back into the lift, and I realized I got off on the wrong floor.
Yeah.
I did that a lot though, because I had the thing where I had an Airbnb for the first 10 days, and then GGG covered my hotel for the nights of the event. And it was one of the nights of ExileCon. I don't know if it was because I was tired or I'd had too much drink or whatever, but I went up to the wrong floor. Because in my mind, I was still on the 14th floor from my old place. So I went up to the 15th floor, went to what I thought was my room number, and spent a good 10 minutes trying to get to someone else's room. And I was like, oh, my key card doesn't work. Great, I'm going to have to go down to reception and get a new key card. And then I looked at the key card, and it was like, floor 9. And then I looked, it was like floor 15. And I was like, ooh. And then, yeah.
Damn. That hotel was weird. That was a weird hotel. It's a 5-star hotel for like way too much money, and I had the most awkward conversation of my life. It was so fancy they didn't have toilet brushes. And I thought it was a genuine mistake. And I went out to the cleaning lady, and she was like with management. And I was like, you guys forgot a toilet brush in our room. They were like, Sir, we don't use toilet brushes here.
What?
I don't know what it is with New Zealand and just toilets.
Yeah, there's a
The-
problem, really. Yeah,
The
I agree.
absolute worst thing about New Zealand, they use one layer toilet paper, and I
Yeah.
still can't get over it. It's fucking ridiculous. It makes no sense. And the worst part is, it's not just that it's one layer, it's also super wide. It's like, how fucking explosive are your shits, okay? You can narrow it down. Your asshole's like this tiny, okay? You don't need it so wide. Instead, put 2 layers. Like,
This
and it
was not on the
it
top
was every
list.
single place. It was every single place. Absolutely ridiculous.
And the second worst thing is how they do their blankets. Because
Oh
you
my
don't have a
God.
normal blanket on the beds. You have like 3 layers of blankets all mixed in together. And so you're just waking up in the middle of the night and you're just laying without anything.
It's like a blanket sandwich. You know how you like put the stuff into the sheets? They would have like one sheet on top, the actual blanket in the middle, and then the sheet on the bottom, and you could just take them apart at all times.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful country, though. Auckland is
Yeah.
a wonderful
That's
city.
the only two
You know,
things.
it's great.
The
It's
only
great. I
two
love the
things.
Just
I
fucking sew it
promise.
together on the sides. Like,
Just, you know, bring your own toilet paper.
Bring your own toilet paper and bring your own bed linen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. New Zealand is great, yeah.
What makes it even better is you went on that rant during our 1-hour Baeclast at the con.
yeah, because that was the
Did
that
I
was
just block
the
this bit
toilet
out? I
paper
don't
thing.
remember that.
Yeah, see, that was actually really... So, for the people who didn't watch it live, we had a 1-hour Baeclast, and I was really worried about it. I'm like, we've never done a 1-hour Baeclast before. So beforehand, I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to have to be really good. We've got to blast through everything. And then as we were going through it, I was sat by the desk, and I was like...
Be right back.
I feel like we're like gonna run out of content soon. We must be nearly closing. And I looked at my phone and we'd covered everything that had been announced in 20 minutes. And I was like, fuck. So then I had to very subtly, not so subtly, be like, so guys, we've run out of content. 40 minutes of filling. And then we had like a kind of normalish conversation. Then you started to talk about toilet paper. And then I started shitting on Diablo for a bit. It was good.
To be fair, I feel like that's really when the podcast started. Because like the first 20 minutes were kind of stale. We were warming up.
True.
It was kind of weird to get used to, and then we really got into it. There were a lot of technical difficulties, guys. It was difficult. Sometimes I saw on the stream people were like, "Why is this guy doing this?" Like for instance, during the race commentary, randomly our like the noises from the game in our headphones would like spike. So you'd be like mid-sentence, and then it would just go boom, and you're just trying to talk. Like, dude, come on, man! Like, what the fuck? And it would happen over and over. And then I'm reading the Twitch chat, and people are like, "Oh, it seems like Raiz isn't paying as much attention as he should." It's like, dude, I'm trying to not lose my fucking mind right now. Thank you.
It really surprised me that the players were able to hear the commentary on stage. I think that may have been a mistake, to be entirely honest. I know that Tai said in one of his posts that it rattled him quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously it's the first race finals they've done. It's the first ExileCon they've done. So some minor technical flubs like that are pretty much to be expected. And I think overall it went over rather smoothly. But yeah, that surprised me a bit.
I think one of my favorite things, 'cause I feel like there were like 2 periods of extreme technical issues, the racing stuff with you and Ziggy at the end, but then also Crip, Ziggy, and me opening, because we were literally the first thing. And I think the bit where I really realized, okay, they haven't thought this through, was when we were on the couch, and it's Crip playing the game, Jonathan, Ziggy, me, and we're meant to be reacting to Crip's gameplay, but the only way we can see the laptop is to actually see the fucking laptop. So there's bits where like Ziggy and me are like trying to lean over Jonathan to try and like see it from an angle. And I was watching the VOD of that panel earlier, and they had this weird audio loop happening where I don't know how they did it. They were streaming the sounds of the laptop, the sounds of our commentary, and then our commentary again for like a solid 10 minutes. So we had this weird loop where like we would say everything 3 times, And it sounded almost as if like Crip was re-streaming the stream twice or something. It's like you could hear the
That's what
stream
I
in
was
the background
thinking.
or something.
When I saw, I was like, somebody's got the stream booted up on the laptop,
Yeah.
like under the gameplay, and that's why it's replaying over and over.
Done that before.
Absolutely.
But I don't know, like it was really fun, and I'm still just impressed that they trusted us that much. Because looking back on it, like if we wanted to, we could have done so much. Because they were just like, "Oh, we trust you. You're fine. Go on stage, say whatever you want." And there's
to be
not
clear,
really
none
anything
of
they
us
could have done to like. If
none
one
of
is-
us were like paid to do it. None of us had like NDAs. We didn't sign any agreements. None of it. Like we could have just went pretty crazy. And speaking of technical difficulties, that reminds me of like when we were doing the race commentary and the reset was happening, we had absolutely no idea. So they were like, throw it over to stage, and Ziggy's like, exciting announcement. Woo! And then they started talking about, but we couldn't hear any of that. So we were like, panically like, are we off? Are we on? Can they hear us? Are the mics hot? Can we speak? But at the same time, we're like, what's going on stage? What's the exciting announcements? Oh man, it was really frantic, but very enjoyable.
I have to say, like, from all of our perspective, things were like really weird, and like weird things were happening and things were going wrong and stuff like that. But watching the stream, because I basically watched everything looked pretty damn smooth on the stream.
Yeah.
Like it didn't come across. It's like what we saw was a very different experience to what like people watching the stream saw. Like there's a few technical difficulties here and there, and yeah, obviously they reset the race and stuff.
I mean,
but
at the race,
overall,
you realized some technical difficulties, but otherwise it was going so smooth, yeah.
yeah, but it's like from our perspective, just like there was so much more stuff for like, yeah, for 10 minutes, me and Raiz, like, they're just like, there's an announcement, hand over to the main stage. And I'm like, oh, there's an announcement.
Yeah, it's always
what was
great
going
when we have like no idea what's happening, and there's one person that we can look to every time who is like running the production, and we look over at him and he's just going like this. You know, that's like a bad sign. Like we're in trouble now.
One thing I also really
That
liked
worked out.
about it, was so that guy who was doing all the production stuff, it wasn't until about halfway through day one that we had the noteboard system. So originally what was happening is if he had to say something to us, we would just kind of get kind of elaborate hand motions. And then at some point someone produced a whiteboard, and then we'd get stuff like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. And one thing I also really liked, which there was, looking back at it, they did a pretty good job of cutting it out. But there's quite a lot of me and Z kind of being like, is it on? Like, is it working and stuff? Like tapping on microphones. And you and Raiz were doing a lot of that, like,
We had no idea.
I think. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think what we just experienced is what it's actually like to run one of these events. None of us have ever experienced that perspective before, you know.
Well, I
What is
have.
it like
'cause
to
I've done
be
a lot of that
behind the
stuff
scenes
before,
on this sort of stuff?
Usually I do it from the point of view of the guys running, because I've filmed a lot of live stage performances and this, that, and the other. And I think the main difference which really showed is for all of the like professional stuff that I've done on that side of things, we have these things called dress rehearsals, where it's like, okay, so these are our timings, this is this is that. I'm pretty sure that when we got pushed out blind, they were like, okay, so your job is to press play on the camera. Go. And they're like, what? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I love how we're complaining about production and whatnot, and people in the chat are going, why is the title saying pre-stream? And then the mod no one knows how to change it.
I know that it said pre-stream for the last like 30 minutes, but for me to change it, I'd have to fuck up the cameras, so I'm just letting it be scuffed.
No one knows how
Again,
to change
I
it.
never
Nice.
said that I was a very good professional, but I was paid to film things, and I did film multiple stage performances. So yeah.
Taking a step away from Complain Cast for a second, it was such a unique and yes, challenging and like different experience, because all of us are used to a very comfy space streaming things. We know how they all work. It's all very familiar. Going out and doing this sort of stuff is very unfamiliar and like, yeah, very new challenges. But it was, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It was super rewarding casting that race, despite, you know, random technical difficulties and it being so unfamiliar and being so nervous and everything like that. Was like the most fun I've had race casting ever.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
like for example.
a lot of us have been saying it's like ExileCon is the best week of our lives. Like, not even like, oh, that's the best race I got. That was just like the best thing I've ever done, you know? So.
Like the whole New Zealand travel, I would say. The 3 weeks were just amazing for me.
Yeah.
We get it, Ziggy. You've led more fulfilling lives than us. You've had better
No,
highlights.
I haven't. No, dude, I haven't laughed so much as I had on that New Zealand trip, hanging out with you guys and everything, than I have in years and years and years.
Mostly at you.
Yeah, mostly at Tarke.
I remember at one
And
point in the
Raiz.
car, Asuzara was even asleep. And we're driving along. We're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's have a serious talk about ExileCon. And Ziggy goes, "Look, I'm a professional." Asuzara wakes up and the whole car just bursts out laughing. We're like, "Sure, Ziggy, yeah."
That was really mean.
It's the only time I remember us laughing at you, but it was a really good laugh. Thanks.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Literally bursted her out of her sleep. That was good.
She woke up just to laugh at me.
It's true. It's funny because it's true.
I think my favorite
good.
laughing at Ziggy, and I told this in the pre-stream, was when we had to go shopping, and Amy's like, "Ziggy, you better clean that floor before we get back." And you're like, "Yeah, of course I'll play it."
No.
So then you and Niggy play Switch for an hour, or we go and do all the shopping. We come back, "Ziggy, you did not clean that floor." And then the nervous, like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble" dance. And you couldn't find the dustpan and brush, which made it even better. Like, you were trying to be, like, quickly clean it up, and there was, like, this mad scramble trying to find the dustpan and brush.
He did the thing where he had to ask her where it is. That's even worse.
Yeah. Of course you don't know.
And we are not talking about who made that mess in the first place now, right?
Wait, who made the mess?
No one.
Okay. We do have a fancy video of that night that isn't fancy because I botched the filming of it.
Oh God,
I've
guys
actually
just
got
saw
a
it
bunch
before,
of
yeah.
videos of you guys cooking and stuff. I just haven't posted them. I've got like a surprising
nice.
amount of stuff on my phone, and I keep like forgetting that I recorded stuff. I just haven't posted it yet. But
So,
I
Noogie,
need that.
did you get to gallivant around the countryside with anybody leading up to ExileCon, or you
What?
know, you feeling a little left out of these rememberings
was
as
that?
well?
no,
It's just
me
you,
and Niggy
Octavian.
got
Sorry, you
ditched.
were
We
the
we stayed
only
behind in
one.
Auckland. Yeah.
Oh.
There was a really awkward time period. So Niggy was you were the first person to get there, right? You got there a day before Raiz, Azu, and me, if I remember correctly. You got there on the 5th.
Yes, I got one day before.
Yeah. So we
I
got there
just
on.
slept.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just slept that day. That was like fine. I mean, I just like, and what are you gonna do the first day? I mean, you're gonna be jet lagged and everything coming up a trip. So we hooked up. I was like, oh, I'm feeling good. Let's go.
So then we all got there together on the 6th. Then we met up on like the 7th or something. Then we hung out for a few days. Then Ziggy and Amie got here, and then we hung out for like a day or two together. And then you guys went road tripping, and me and Niggy hung out for a few days. Then Octavian got there a couple of days after that. And Octavian is a miserable bastard and did nothing because someone couldn't sleep on a plane.
I was awake for a little over 30 hours on the trip over, on like the first day, and more than that because that's how long days are. So yeah, I just kind of fell into the hotel room once they allowed me into it and didn't do anything the first day I was there.
It was probably one of the most anticlimactic things of the trip because I'd never met Octavian before, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet Octavian. I bet Octavian is so much fun in person. Oh, I can't wait to meet Octavian. And then I meet Octavian, and Octavian's like,
I was very dead. I was fun later though, right, Tarke?
Hi, Tarke.
Right? I was fun later.
Yes.
You were taking too long to answer this question.
Yes, I answer for you.
No, hanging out with Octavian was a lot of fun once he started sleeping. I had a lot of fun hanging out with Octavian in the following days. Yeah.
It was the opposite for me, really.
You
Like,
didn't have
it
fun
was
hanging out with
crazy.
Octavian?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Sleeping stuff. Like I had so little sleep during the 3 weeks. Like I slept for 5 to 6 hours every day, and I was fine. I was just awake the whole time. It was cool. Now I'm back to sleeping 10 hours and still being super tired. Great.
It's the air. I think it's the air. New Zealand.
Oh, fresh.
Mm.
I miss it. It's pretty smoky here.
I would do it all again tomorrow. Go to New Zealand, drive around, do crazy things, do ExileCon, be stressed and nervous, but have a great time. I'll do it all again tomorrow. I'm so good.
So
let's go.
you're paying for all of us, yeah? Yeah, Ziggy, yeah.
I'm like thinking about coming to Europe or something soon.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
we're talking about this.
TwitchCon?
Yeah.
When is that?
Um,
March or
yeah.
something?
Visit mountains.
It's like
Visit
May.
visit May.
TwitchCon. It's May 3rd, 4th.
Have they already
I was
started
thinking
selling
of going
tickets
to
for
that
that?
one because there's not very many PoE people in North America comparatively.
What?
There's not too many PoE people in North America comparatively. So I was
Maybe
thinking
not
of going to
streamers.
the. Yeah, no, streamers. Not obviously there's a player base. But yeah, no, there's less representation of my people in the PoE section. So I think I would meet more people that I actually know going to a TwitchCon EU than a TwitchCon NA.
Probably, yeah. It is kind of weird that it's primarily European streamers, but I mean, in terms of PoE players, it's mostly NA, no?
American,
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Bex a few times because she got really confused by it, but it's one of those things where if you actually think about a lot of the OG PoE streamers who stopped playing, nearly all of them were like American. Like Eat Up, Hellman, like a lot of those
True.
old school dudes,
Yeah.
Moors, like all
That
of those
whole
guys.
crew.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the biggest compliment I got on the whole trip. Crip called me OG. That was really hot.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Damn.
Same.
It was
He was
spicy.
there.
To make you feel even better about that, Raiz, so when I first ran into Crip on the trip, I was like, "Oh, you know who Raiz is, right?" And he's like, "Raiz QT," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, of course I know who he is." So, yeah.
I'm crying. with my penis. That's hot.
We could have left out the second half.
There was
It was a
actual-
touching moment for a second there.
Yeah.
It really was.
But I
For
will
a
say
second.
there was an actual moment at the Ultra VIP dinner where I thought you were going to start crying, Raiz. Do you remember when I came up to you? It's like we were all sat down talking to Chris, and I looked over, and you looked like you were gonna like you would freak out or something. And I came over to you. I'm like, "Dude, you all right?" And you're like, "He's real. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah, that was also my penis. Yes, that was a great moment.
Oh god, just
Sorry.
we don't need to keep bringing it into things.
Oh, do we?
God.
Leave it at home
do
when we
we?
go out. Leave it at home. Anyway, so just to backtrack briefly. So wait, have they started selling the ExileCon EU stuff already?
ExileCon?
Not ExileCon,
you
TwitchCon.
mean?
TwitchCon, sorry.
What about
Have they?
I think so.
It's a lake. Lake.
Have you? Okay.
He
Have
goes
you bought
into the
tickets
office
for it?
one time.
Anyone?
No,
No.
not me.
So they probably haven't sold it then. Otherwise, you would have bought a ticket.
I don't know about tickets. No.
Yeah, I don't know if they have.
This is one of the
Better
things that I
question-
always love. Whenever I ask a question, I'm like, "Yes, of course, yes, yes," and then I ask the follow up. No, no, no.
The better question is, do you guys think they should do ExileCon like every year or every 2 years? Because a lot of people are saying that every
Annually,
year
Every
would be
2
too
years
much.
could maybe be good.
I would say every
Annually,
3.
I don't think would work.
Mm.
We spoke to Chris about it a couple of times, like at the event, and then me and Octavian spoke to him about it again in the office. And it was so from his point of view, there were one of two options. They either wait until whenever they have a big announcement, and then it's like roughly every like 3-ish years, or they have a situation where they do it more regularly, like every 2 years, but then it's like every other event would be more of just a community meetup. And it's just like we're just coming together, the viewers, the players, and the studio. And Chris seemed pretty like into that idea. But yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't expect anyone for at least another 2 years. But he was very much kind of umming, and they definitely want to do it again. And I was speaking to Ethan, who is the guy who's the office manager. He was also the guy who was running around like a headless chicken, the whole thing. He was the guy who had to get like all the cards printed and everything for the game. And he was like, "Dude, I can't wait to do it all again. I'm gonna like make the card game even better and all of this stuff."
That guy.
He
is
was
just
so
a
hype.
hero. He's a
He was
champion.
so
I loved
cool, yeah.
Ethan. Ethan was great.
Yeah.
So like, imagine the nicest person ever taking care of everything, and
Yeah.
everybody with just like the biggest smile. It's like, what is it called? Like the ladies on the plane, but they're actually nice and 24/7.
Air hostess.
Yeah. It's like that, but it's not a fake smile. It's like a real one. He's just an extremely fucking nice guy at all times.
One thing which was really funny with Ethan, so at the Ultra VIP dinner, he was there, and I kept like getting him beers because his job during the event was like canning people water, getting this, doing that. And we had this weird thing where we were like racing for who could get Chris glasses of water because Chris was hacking up a fucking lung. Like, I am genuinely worried for Chris's health after the event. He pushed himself so hard. He'd be like, and then as soon as his mouth opened, there'd just be like a solid 3 minutes of just the wettest cough you've ever heard.
Gross. Thanks.
I thought it was going to say like 3 centimeters of lung, so I'm actually happy where that went.
You could see the lung coming in and out of his. But no, so like, and the other thing which is really cool about Ethan, which makes everything he did even more impressive, he was meant to be on bereavement leave for the thing. So he was like, he put all his personal shit aside and still like performed like 1,000,000%. And he didn't even have to turn up to work the next day, but we went to the office the next day, and there was a meeting, like an unofficial like well done everyone like speech that Chris gave, and he like let us in, and he was there for the speech, was like shaking everyone's hand, then he like went home and like went on his leave for a bit. But yeah, Ethan's great. Also, fun Ethan fact that Octavian doesn't think is fun, but I think is really fun. So me and Ethan are the same age and star sign, and we're born like 10 days apart. And I know this because he's got a really nice fish tattoo, and we were talking about tattoos for ages. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Pisces." And I'm like, "Oh, me too." And then blah 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 blah.
Did you guys have fun with that fact?
So cute. Oh my god.
Bex think me and Ethan are cute together. So that's all that matters. I like Ethan.
Everybody likes
Yes.
Ethan Tarke. You're not special. Okay.
Speaking of that office, speaking of that office meeting thing, cool thing that they're gonna do. They're taking the map device that was at the convention, and they're going to laminate it and use it as a table in the office that you can like that they'll be able to like hang out around and eat on, and that's just really freaking cool. And I thought it was worth mentioning. That's a fun fact, Tarke. These people just had fun right now.
Weren't they
a
like?
very fun fact?
Weren't they taking like various pictures? I saw some like random pictures of the like the boss guy or whatever it is from 4.0, the tree guy, and he was like looking out a window at a construction site, going like the destruction or something.
Yeah,
Like,
the hooded
they're
figure.
really
is-
having fun
is
with
in
the
other.
props. Oh, I wonder what they did with the tree.
They sold it to a film set. It's going to be used. I think it's the
Oh.
new Lord of the Rings stuff.
wow.
Which is
And
pretty
the
cool.
corpses.
Really?
Did
Probably
you
Yeah,
same
it was-
corpses.
Huh.
There was a guy there who actually works on the new Lord of the Rings TV series. We had a bit of a chat.
Oh wow.
His dad made the tree.
Hmm.
It's a very heavy tree.
We
Tree's
had
It's
sick.
being reused.
a fun story about the tree, and I thought this was really cool. So that tree is in 4.0, but in 4.0, the hanging tree has actual like corpses hanging from it. So when they went to recreate it, there was a conversation that happened in the office of, well, we can't have people actually hanging themselves because then we're promoting suicide. And Chris was like, I mean, but they're in sacks. Like, no one puts themselves in a sack and then hangs themselves. So they had this whole discussion of how can we recreate it in a way that it couldn't be promoted in a certain way. So that's when they had the idea, well, what if we just start, like, having severed heads and random legs and random arms? Then that's more, like, PG friendly. And they're like, that's a great idea. And I just, I love those kind of stories, kind of. I think they're really interesting because someone actually had to sit down and work out, like, okay, how can we make this, like, less traumatizing? I know, severed limbs.
Dude, but that's how this stuff works. I was watching for the first time ever while traveling. I was watching the movies on an airplane, and it would be crazy. Like there would be body parts flying, blood everywhere, heads getting chopped off, and then there was like a guy's butt crack censored. It's like the whole screen was just censored. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, is this okay?
Tarke, I would like to give you a round of applause. You did it. That was a very fun fact.
Oh, is that a fun story?
Oh.
Or did I do one?
That was a fun
Yay.
fact.
Nice.
He did it. He did it. It was like
Yes.
third, fourth go.
Yeah.
Well done. I'm proud of you.
He's using the shotgun method.
Yeah, you just gotta you listen to all of my stories and some of them are okay. You know, just throw enough out there.
I have a completely off-topic topic that I would like to hear your thoughts on, and also just in general, tell people to watch Ty23's stream that he did recently, because it was incredible. It was heart-wrenching. I was an emotional. I'm an emotional shell after watching it. I don't know if I like want to spoil it that much because it was an epic moment, and I think a lot of people haven't seen it and might let it pass them by. Easy to do so, but if you haven't watched Ty23's stream, he did a breakdown of his ExileCon experience, but also basically his like last year or his life of Path of Exile racing. It reminded me a bit of like an old StarCraft and Day 9 fan. It reminded me a bit of like my Life of StarCraft episode that Day 9 did. It was like hilarious, full of memes, and heart-wrenching all at the same time. You need to watch it, Ames.
I know. You keep telling me.
Yes,
I also need to sleep.
It's good. It's only like 2 hours. It's only like 2 hours. Watch it. It's so good. I don't know if like do we discuss that fact though, because it's kind of big news, but it's also a spoiler to talk about what he talks about.
Okay,
Raiz, you
raise
want to
your
say
hand
something to that?
if you think we should talk
No.
about it. You can vote. Okay, apparently
What
we're
was
not allowed
that,
to talk
Tarke?
about it because no one raised their hand. Democracy. There you go.
That's fair. That's fair. Let people watch it and
Yeah.
form their own thoughts.
Agreed.
One thing that we didn't touch on that I wanted to get to, and I guess we'll start with you because you had the most experience with it. PoE Mobile, Ziggy.
Yes. What would you like to know? Just in general?
Well, yeah, what was because obviously you knew about it and did a very good job of not breaking
Yes, I
NDA,
know.
you bastard.
This whole time earlier when I was talking about the Atlas, chat's like, he knows. Damn it, Ziggy, he knows. Just tell us. And I'm like, literally know nothing. I'm talking about how I don't understand how this stuff works. There was one thing I knew about, okay? For this whole thing. This is a completely fresh and different experience because instead of doing the usual press tour that Chris does prior to ExileCon, everything was only going to be announced at ExileCon. So all of us secret, and none of us really knew very much about anything. But I did know that there was going to be a mobile version, and that's because Chris is very ethical. And in order to ask me whether I'd like to do the segment where I did the hands-on with the mobile during the stream, it was like, I'd need to let you know what it is in case you want to avoid it. You know, maybe you want to dodge it and don't have it. Maybe you want to wash your hands of this entire concept and have nothing to do with it. It's always like, I got to tell you, it's going to be a Path of Exile mobile, and we'd like you to do hands-on half hour on stream. So that's all I knew. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I was pretty impressed. I think the most exciting or interesting topic about the Path of Exile mobile is the potential that they might do something kind of different with it. Personally, because they're like pretty open to the idea of, I think it's been discussed a lot, the idea of there being a mobile game. Yes, they did a great job of announcing it. They did it properly. They're making it in-house. It's not going to be full of bullshit monetization, yada, yada, yada. That's all good. But I think the thing that's most interesting is like they are not sure where they want to go with it, whether they want to just recreate Path of Exile or make something pretty different. I want them to make something pretty different. I'm especially interested in the idea of them doing a maps only Path of Exile, but there's no like campaign or anything. You start at like level 1 and you go into like an end game system. That would work really well for a mobile game, I feel. Maybe like they could have other end game modes as well that you can do. Like maybe you can also delve. Maybe you can just delve and you can just do maps and there's no campaign.
The thing they talked about to us a couple of times is they weren't sure if they wanted to make it like a prequel to PoE 2. Like there was the talk in the office that they would, because there's the 20-year time jump, maybe PoE Mobile would tell that story. But the reason why they're not sure about it is they don't want people to feel like they have to play it to get the full experience.
Yeah. That's a pretty good point. Yeah, that would maybe be a good idea to avoid. I like the idea of being something that I could play like I would actually play it if it was like just maps or something, because that's something I could just jump in and do a few maps. Like I could play that alongside of playing PoE on PC. If it's just a recreation, why would I play mobile over PC? I'm like always at home anyway. I guess like for other people it makes sense because they might want to play when they're out and about, but
yeah, I feel like part of the issue, at least for me, with the demo of mobile, because I wasn't enthralled by it, is just that we're not necessarily the target demographic. At least I don't feel like I am. You know, like I don't have that spare time on a train where I might want to play mobile. I also have, you know, much higher standards about how the smoothness of gameplay is going to feel, both in terms of performance, because it does seem to be some cutting edge stuff that a lot of phones maybe wouldn't be able to run right now. Obviously, this is something that's going to come out years from now, probably. And also in terms of how it functionally plays. I am not a small person, and my thumbs take up a lot of screen real estate, and it was hard for me to control the things. So I don't know. I think they're approaching it correctly. I think you're absolutely right on that. But personally, probably not going to play it much. I just don't think it's made for me.
We're all PC
But
gamers, you know. We mostly play PC.
Well, the thing is, like, it's literally PoE because, like, a lot of people probably are thinking like Diablo and whatnot, and they're like, they think it's a different thing. No, it was literally PoE. Like, all the same skill gems, the same skill tree, everything was the same. You just controlled it on a phone, which I thought they pulled off pretty well. I was positively surprised. I think the controls on the phone were kind of better than the default controls on like PS4, for instance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Having played on PC, console, and mobile felt better than it did on console. The only issue I had with mobile is, so when we played it in the office, and we got fresh iPhones because they had it all on iPhone 11s. They got it fresh out of the crate, and it was Trevor's his name, right? The guy who's the PoE 4 guy. So it was Trevor who's the guy who was like behind it all, explaining what it was. Octavian, me, and Natasha. And there was a bit, we did like 2 maps. We didn't play it for that long. And then we kind of all looked at each other, and I put the phone down because my hands were getting like really hot. And then Natasha started doing this, like, "Ooh, it is a bit hot. Yeah, that's a bit toasty."
It was burning hot.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not like just a bit hot.
I had a thing of like, I don't want this to explode in my hands, so I'm gonna put this down now. And Trevor was like, "Well, it's still early days, you know," kind of like, "Don't worry," you know. It got really hot. But
one thing you mentioned that I was really surprised by is that evidently the processing power of the iPhone 11 is like on par or better than some current gen consoles.
Yeah.
Which seemed absurd to me.
But I can totally believe it.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Like, even if you just look at the Switch, for example, the hardware on the Switch is like pretty trash. So most new phones have better hardware than the Switch does.
Jump in.
I'm gonna jump in. Noogie, you are probably the person who travels the most. Would you play it?
No. I don't play games on my.
Have you tried it at all?
No, but it's like, okay, I've never like sat down ever.
Never sat down
phone
ever.
Being like,
He's
no,
standing right
I've
now.
never gone like, oh, let me just get on my phone and play games. This just doesn't happen. And like, I haven't played a phone game in like 10 years.
We're not the target demographic.
I don't care how good it is. I literally don't care. When I'm on my phone when I'm traveling, I don't want to. I don't need it. I just don't need it.
I will say,
He's engaged in the world around
I play
him.
like 20 hours. Like, I can play 20 hours a day on my PC. I don't need to play it on my phone as well, dude. It's like, it's fine. If you want to play it, play it. I just don't know. I don't need it. It's not for me.
I started to play games on the phone just this travel because I knew I would travel just 36 hours and I need something to do. And so I started to play some games on the phone now.
what games are you playing?
Just some really shitty pay-to-win bullshit.
Phone games.
And I recommend. It wastes time, so it's doing its job. Yeah.
I would say I would actually play it because, so I really enjoy my Switch. I've never used my Switch docked. I only use it portable, and I literally just use it as a portable console. I like portable gaming, but what Ziggy said, I wouldn't play PoE Mobile in the current state where it's just PoE. If it was something different, I would play it. But for me, it's one of those things of I do like portable gaming, and I do a lot of portable games, but I wouldn't just play a worse version of Path of Exile. So if they did something like in the universe, like if they did like PoE Gwent or something like that on mobile, I would play the hell out of that. I'd be so into it. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe the PoE card game.
Yeah.
On mobile soon.
Could I
Have to
port
have
that to my
all the
PC?
devs online.
That'd be my question.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that with any mobile game.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine like running through the campaigns on mobile and then like not getting to the next waypoint and then like having to put your mobile down because like it's your bus stop or the red light turned green. I'm just kidding, but
Yeah, don't play PoE Mobile in your car. Don't do that.
while driving.
Oh god.
While the red lights. Enough time for a map maybe, but not enough time to get to the next waypoint.
No, don't do that. Because there are multiple things that could go wrong in that scenario. So one, you could be a distracted driver and cause an accident. Or two, your phone could literally like burst in flames while you're behind the wheel. And I don't think that would be very good for your attention either. So yeah, don't play mobile games while driving, please. Don't
Just
do
a
anything
question.
while driving. Just both hands on the wheel, all times, eyes forward. You know, be sensible.
Yeah. Question at you guys here, except Ziggy, because he knew already. But how long did it take you to realize that PoE Mobile is not just a joke? Because when I saw the announcement, I was like, wow, good joke there. And then I was like, hey, it's not. It was pretty cool for me.
Probably the point in the trailer where they brought out Trevor and said, you know, this is our mobile fall guy. That's when I realized, oh shit, they're making a thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I still would love to hear like their arguments for not opening up with the mobile thing. It's like, would that meme be too deep if they just opened the entire ceremony with the mobile thing?
Yes.
And they'd be like, hey, welcome to ExileCon.
Oh god. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Apparently, Quinn got like actually angry by the PoE Mobile thing.
I
Why?
can see it.
I think it just brought back
because
a
of
lot
the
of very
lol.
painful memories for him. Because he was
Okay.
streaming it, but I heard a few people say that like, Quinn got like really pissed off when that happened. So
PTSD.
Unlucky. It is funny because other than what Ziggy heard about the mobile thing, that's another thing that we had no idea about, like anything. Like we had absolutely no clue about any of the things we were going into. We had like a schedule of what we're going to be doing, but we had no idea what to talk about. It's like, hey, we're gonna do a Baeclast. We don't know anything. Tarke was like the day before they had to open the ceremony with Ziggy,
Nothing.
Tarke, and
Yeah,
Crip.
nothing.
They had nothing, zero information about anything. It was just like literally a 1 hour stand up. So
I think we did. It was a bit cringe, but I think we did okay with our 1 hour improv. I think Ziggy would agree with this that for the next ExileCon, I will very happily open it again with Ziggy and Crip, but preferably not literally open it with zero information and just have to spend an hour killing time.
well, to be fair, everybody forgot about it because Einhar was the follow up, right? So
Yeah, the 3 hour Einhar special. Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
I was saying like that they should have just jumped straight to the like opening ceremony. Chris like walking on stage, explosions, yada yada. So, someone actually made an amazing video of what my simulation of what it would be like. But apparently everyone's been saying that they like really enjoyed the pre-show and they would say do the pre-show again if they do another ExileCon. I don't know. Apparently people liked it. So
I'll happily do it again.
People will
Like,
win, I guess.
I will happily do it again. I don't know. I just felt kind of bad for the viewers because it was one of those things where so we had our pre-show, then we went to the main stage, and then it was Einhar. So I was just thinking in my head,
Ziggy's right there, man.
I was just thinking in my head, like, wait, so someone has sat for a countdown timer. The kind of it finally gets to 0. And then us 3 idiots start talking literally nothing for an hour. And they're like, okay, but now it's going to happen. And then they're like, wait, Einhar! And you're like, no. That must have been so painful for Twitch chat. I don't know.
it's called foreplay, Tarky.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
True.
okay, no.
Right.
There's foreplay, and then there's the, okay, I'm taking 2 hours to get this bra off. Can you please help me? And I feel like we were leaning slightly more into the I can't get the last hook kind of phase.
That was a solid comeback, well played.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I was not aroused in chat. I was during that entire pre-show.
This has been one of our more risque episodes of Baeclast.
It has
I
been.
gotta say.
I knew it. I knew it would be.
Nuggy,
Glad
should
to
we
be
talk
here
about our couple's
during this
massage
one.
for the remainder of the podcast?
No, let's just keep that between us.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, everybody who was there knows about it, so it's not really between you. I'll probably talk about it for an hour on my stream, so.
The couples massages. Yes.
That's good.
It's okay,
So we
Octavian.
just
We
like
can have
getting
one next
all of
time.
this out there. Noogie wore Amy's shorts when he went swimming.
All right.
True.
We haven't washed them yet. We have
Yeah.
framed them and put them on the wall. And there's a little hatch. There's a little hatch you can open. Had a little
Uh,
It was Amie, Asuzara, me, and Noogie.
preserving.
When I mentioned it was the most risque, that was not an invitation to try and push it further in that direction.
But that was a very
Necessary.
interesting conversation that we
You gotta solidify this, I see.
No, because
it
that
not?
was very interesting because the ladies kind of led the way going into the water because we were at a waterfall, and then the conversation with Noogie about whether or not he should he should do it with or without underwear.
Come
prior to
on.
going in. It was very interesting. To be fair, I'm still cold.
when-
from that
Dude, I
fucking
didn't know
waterfall.
like what's the proper etiquette here. You know, I mean, what is the proper etiquette in a situation like? How many times can you say you've been in that situation?
He ended up raw dogging it, so
Yeah.
just let it.
It felt right.
I didn't know until now.
I
You know.
encourage-
I
encourage
didn't know
them.
either. I hear this
No.
the first time here.
Okay, for the sake of my channel, I think now we can stop. Octavian, I'm gonna take your advice. I don't know where to go from there.
It's a very intimate episode. This is cozy.
I got videos.
Your videos.
You can check those out later on Azu's stream.
On the page.
Yeah. Tier 3 subs get the
Although in
secret
the stream.
Snapchat. One thing I will say is Noogie is a very peaceful sleeper. Noogie crashed.
Oh yeah, you got so many pictures of him sleeping.
I have a lot of
right?
pictures of Noogie sleeping.
Yeah. So cute.
So when we were when there was the
Actually
thing where it
adorable.
was us all hanging out at Ziggy's flat minus Octavian because you hadn't got there yet. Sorry, Octavian.
I'm regretting this less and less at this point.
It's fine. I think it was Raiz and Azu at the time were playing on the No, this was when Raiz and Ziggy were doing their amazing stealth run. What was that
Yes.
game called again? City
Streets of Rogue.
Right, okay.
Ah, yeah.
Streets of Rogue.
Streets of Rogue. For anyone who hasn't played it, chat, great game. They were trying to unlock a hero through a special challenge where they had to stealth through it, and Raiz is amazing at stealth. Really good at stealth. They reset the same level like 4 times after you like punch someone or like walk in front of people and whatever. And they get to the point where Amy's just like, guys, I feel like we should probably end for the night. Noogie's literally fallen asleep. And we all turn around, he's just like
didn't know he was
passed out.
asleep. I didn't know he was asleep. And then I looked at him like, oh shit. He is a little peaceful little angel curled up on the bed.
I was tired.
Oh my god, did I send him to sleep when I said it? Everyone actually be quiet.
Aw.
Oh, little Noogie.
Can I keep him?
Noogie was basically like the baby Yoda of the trip.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Super cute.
Mhm.
Absolutely adorable.
So that was the first picture I have of Noogie sleeping. And then because Noogie's really good at geography, would you like to tell people how you booked your Airbnb?
So there's 2 peninsulas, basically, in Auckland. And so I was like booking my Airbnb. I was like, oh, this looks pretty close to the city center. Then I looked for like some other nearby Airbnbs. I find one. It looks good. It's a little flower shop. with a back room. It's like, oh, that's pretty nice. I book it because like, oh, same spot, like right around where I found some other ones. Apparently it was on the second peninsula, so it's like 40 minutes out in Pakuranga. So I had to take the train or the bus into a train to get into the city every day for like a week. It's great.
So after a couple of late nights, Niggy did crash at mine. But the thing which was weird about it is how quickly you fell asleep. I envy people who can do that. But it's like
That's what happens when you're
I'm like that too.
you know, when you're carefree.
Mm.
Unburdened.
Unburdened, exactly.
actually just out of interest. Okay, so how many people on this podcast are the people who fall asleep, and how many people who see next to the person who's fallen asleep like, fuck you, I can't believe you've fallen asleep?
I
those
fall
the
asleep
only
really
options?
easily. Like everywhere.
Yes,
On
those are the only two
bus,
options.
on the- Everywhere.
They were all asleep in the car at one point, Tarke.
Amy did
It was
all the driving.
raining. It was shit driving. I was alone. And I'm
Amy
like,
was
okay,
such an
check my
angel,
refrigerator.
really.
They're both asleep. Turned to Ziggy. He's like, "Ugh." I'm like, what the shit? It's not a red light. And this guy's like, right next to me, looking in. He sees everyone else asleep, and we just share this look like, fuck man, what are you gonna do? It was great. I felt like I really bonded with that truck driver. And then you all wake up eventually. It's good.
Yeah, poor
Yes,
Amy
Amy
was
did
doing
all
all
the
the driving, and we were just falling asleep all the time. So
It was so cute. Except for Raiz. Oh my goodness, I thought he was gonna die.
He was
I thought we
sleeping
established
like
I don't sleep.
He sleeps like this and then just like
Yeah.
Those are the two options. I'm the third option. I'm the guy who falls asleep first and then wakes up everybody who managed to afterwards with just being way too loud and obnoxious while I sleep. Oh, yeah.
What about you, Octavian? Sorry, I didn't really catch your sleeping habits.
No. What was the question again?
What kind of sleeper are you? Are you the guy who just like can just fall asleep at whim, or you got the guy who like stares at the ceiling, dreading life and everything in it?
Sleep and me do not have a close relationship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll just put it that way. I don't know. My sleep schedule is never good, ever. But it happens eventually.
I feel like that's a PoE thing, right? Like you kind of have to have your sleep a little bit messed up. It's too hard to organize it every 3 months.
Yeah, you're like,
It's just a disaster. Especially if you're fucking European, GGG. Can you please
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
go back? I remember times when they would start like early morning for Europeans. It was so good, and then they stopped doing that, and that was like 6 years ago.
When is league start for you guys now?
It's usually like
That's pretty
Like
good this time.
for me, it's
11
like
p.m.
8, 9 p.m.
No,
or
it's like
something.
8 this time.
9.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It was
it's
8?
a little bit better this time compared to previous.
I don't think I've ever played a game, at least not in the last. I can't actually remember when it used to launch back in the day, but in the last 3 or 4 years, are there any games which launch in the morning for EU? I don't think there are there? We always have really late night releases.
I mean, it'd be terrible if they did, wouldn't it?
Well, fuck the Americans.
It's like the work.
Yeah.
But I mean, who would want to like launch that game early morning Europe time? It's terrible.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice. I don't know. It's just I always get really frustrated because I have quite a lot of Australian viewers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it was awful. I had to wake up at 8 a.m. for this release," and I'm like, "What do you mean? Like you got to wake up and have a normal full day?"
I was keeping my mouth shut because I do complain about getting up early for league start, but it's like 7 a.m. start. I'm like, oh no, it's so early, I'm dying.
Oh, it'd be great.
But I get a full day of playing PoE, you know? It's not really not that bad. First world problems.
Is it so much the start or the fact that you just keep going and going and going? And then you sleep and you just wake up whenever and go and go and go again?
It's probably a combination. I mean, you'll typically sleep like what, 3, 4. If you're lucky, 5, 6 hours. It's not a lot of sleep to go off of, especially when you just flipped your schedule. So it's a lot. But also, it's a ton of fun. So, I mean, can't really complain.
I do this weird thing where I'm like, I'm gonna be sensible. I'm not gonna play for 20 hours on the first day. No. I'll be sensible. I'll just stay up to like 4 a.m., then go to bed, and spend the next 3 hours like talking to Bex on Twitter about how the launch is going, and then it'll be like 7, 8 in the morning, and then I'll sleep for like 2 hours, and I'm like, hey guys, fresh after a 2-hour sleep, let's go. Stream for like 3 hours, feel like shit, and be like, actually, I'm gonna go back to bed. Usually, I've hosted Uber 3 times in the first like full 24 hours of League start.
And he was still on his first.
Yeah, he's
stream.
still on his first playthrough, and I'm just like, just off for another nap, and he's like, yeah, fuck you, Tarke. I don't.
To be
do you
fair,
guys,
I did kill him like that once.
Can you actually, because you go like Kratar, can you actually sleep? Because I have the thing when it's League start, I end and I'm like, oh, I'll be sensible, but I'm too buzzed to sleep. So I end up just doing random shit like on Twitter or whatever for like 3 or 4 hours. And yeah.
I definitely can't sleep the night before League start as well. Fucking, it's the night I want to sleep the most out of every night of the year. 365 days. Give me 1 day every 3 months that I can sleep, one night. And it's not that one. I can never sleep. I sleep like 2 hours most League launch nights. Just too amped.
It's always like that. When you need sleep the most, you just can't.
Ugh.
Before ExileCon.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep much before ExileCon because I'm like, especially if it's just something in the morning. It's like me, Tarke, and Crip are going on for the early morning pre-show. We're gonna do a good thing. We're gonna keep people on interested. Everyone's gonna be super excited, waiting for the content, and we're gonna distract them for an hour.
Good thing you weren't like 30 minutes late or anything, Ziggy.
I was 30 minutes late, yes.
I actually quite enjoyed it because I just got to hang out with Crip and Rania for 30 minutes, so I appreciated it. But one thing that I did really like about it is, so you got lost, right? That was why you were late. So I left.
Mike muted.
Yeah, I left really early. And I came out of the hotel and I saw Engineer Eternity walking towards me, and I'm like, oh hey dude, are you going to the con? And he's like, yeah, I just had breakfast. And where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the convention center. He's like, cool, you're walking the wrong direction. I'm like, yeah, thanks. So thankfully he then walked me to the con, so I actually got there early on time. But if it wasn't for him, I could have very easily done a Ziggy and like been an hour late for the thing, because I just like walked in the wrong direction.
I walked the wrong direction 3 times in the morning trying to go to the convention center. That morning I got lost because I went without Amie, because Amie had to stay behind and finish her cosplay up. So I was like, I gotta go over early. So I go. I start walking in the direction of the convention center. I think I'm going the wrong way. Go the other direction. Realize I'm actually going the wrong way this time, and then go back. But I don't know. I got lost again somehow on the way back. I walked too far. I overshot by like a kilometer. I had to walk back. So that's why I was half an hour late. And it's because my GPS is.
I had
on
that.
My phone. It always points the wrong direction.
I don't know what it is. I get that in London sometimes, but in Auckland specifically, it's like go left, and you're like, okay, going left, and you're walking away from the tower, and you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm meant to be near the giant thing in the sky.
It's got the thing where it's like trying to, you're supposed to point the direction you're facing, but it's always like, I don't know, and it's not like it's turned the wrong way. It's like 70 degrees off or something. So it confuses me so much.
Damn.
That said, the city was like really nicely walkable. And I was only there for a week, and I felt like by the end of it, I had learned a good chunk of the city pretty quickly. Everything felt easy to reach and get to and figure out eventually if you had been there for even just a few days.
If you're intelligent, yes.
Yeah, it was the absolute opposite for me. I could never find anything. The only like vantage point was the tower. I would be like, oh, there's the tower. I know where to go. I don't see tower, other direction every time.
Yeah. The orientation was really hard in Auckland for me too, yeah.
I think one of the funniest things, especially because I'm from the UK, so everyone drives on the left, the amount of times that Raiz would freak out when we had to cross the street.
Yes. It was scary, man. I don't know. Every time I was like, they're about to. Oh, okay. Oh, shit, he's got it. Oh. All the time.
At the end of that first day, when I mentioned I had been up for like 30 hours plus, we were walking back from the docks, and I was heading back to my hotel so I could check in. And thankfully, Slippery Jim was kind enough to walk back with me, because there was twice at least on the walk back to the hotel that I was about to step out at the wrong time into traffic, and he grabbed me and pulled me back. So I'm like here on Baeclast and here in general, very possibly in part due to Slippery Jim. So thanks to that guy. He's excellent.
There you go.
Me too. He's my dad. That's why.
I
Oh,
think
and
we
the
can
extra
all
weird
agree
thing.
that meeting Jim in person left an impression.
A positive one. I'll go one step further. A positive one.
I didn't recognize him, and then he came over, and he had an egg, and he was like, "Sign this egg for me," and I was like, "That's Slippery Jim." Now I get it.
I feel like I cursed the egg because I signed it and then it broke like an hour later.
That's why I didn't get to sign the egg. That's what I'm going with.
I'm sorry.
You didn't ask me to sign the egg. I'm gonna go with that. Not that I wasn't important enough.
Egg is dead.
His collection of 400 wooden hammers or 300 or something like that lived on.
Wooden hammers?
He
Oh, the cards?
he played the card game with a very specific goal in mind. A very specific goal.
Yeah, his video about that's pretty awesome.
None of us really got to play the card game, did we?
No.
I killed one zombie and that's it.
I mean, that's one zombie more than I think anyone else did, so.
Yeah. Sadly. It'd been great to do that. It looked really, really fun. Jealous.
I mean, many
Like
people have
Raiz.
been trying it a lot. And for example, the crafting table was so crowded like all the time. People were going ham over it. It was just such a good idea too. And also people like getting into contact with the developers and just getting to talk to them a little. It was super, super cool.
I feel
Yeah,
really
sounds like
bad
a good
for the
idea.
people who had to work the crafting bench. So Cool Nick was on the crafting bench on the second day. And I feel
Yeah.
like that was the rite of like passage for the GGG staff. Like you would see them come off it and they would look genuinely like shell shocked. They're like, you do not know how many fucking cards I've just had to deal with.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like walking past him and I saw
Yeah, it was-
Nick, and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, let's encourage Nick a little." I screamed like, "Hey, I love you, Nick," and get completely ignored. And then I look at him and he's just fucking sweating. He's fine.
He's like stumbling.
Like,
and it's
okay. This is not the time.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever
This is
saw that
intense.
with like a queue of less than 50 people. Like whenever I walked past, it was like,
Yeah, there was always
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of people, yeah.
50 seems conservative. It was ridiculous.
I love the idea that people lined up for like an hour to put a blacksmith whetstone on an item.
Hey, that was a quest to do, so.
True.
Oh god.
In general, the
But
whole
did anyone
concept was
ever-
cool.
Did someone film it? Like, here's my starting pack. Now I'm going to
Oh,
fight a
walkthrough.
monster, and yeah, I want to walk through because we didn't
Yeah.
get to experience
I
it.
don't know if anyone did. That would have been sick.
that's a really good idea. I don't think anyone did that.
The sickest thing about the card game was definitely the guy SSFing it. He was like HC SSFing it, and he had like signatures from developers. He had a hat with like rank 1 SSF, Shaper Kill, signed by Chris Wilson and everything. It was fucking ridiculously cool. Get popped off. These people were just cheating. They were grouping up. It was fucking bullshit.
Just
There were
I-
like
I-
Just
6
like
dudes
Lisa.
that did it.
I spoke to
Possibly.
Gazzy about that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my friends are like helping me get the shaper fragments." Like, wait, so you've got bitch boys?
Yeah. It was
Basically,
literally
what
bitch
he was
boying.
doing is he was like, "Okay, so these are my cards. You do all of the work. Give me the fragments, and then I'll fight shaper." I was like,
Yes. The hat, man, I'm telling you. Rank 1 SSF.
I felt
Yeah,
kind
wasn't
of
it?
bad for Chris though, because so if anyone doesn't know, Chris was the shaper and like all the devs were wearing a different t-shirt with monsters you could kill. And he was told that no one would fight you until about halfway through day 2. So he was like, okay, I'll have time, I'll be safe. Yeah, no, like a couple of hours into day 1, they're like, yo, Chris, I'm gonna fuck you up. And he's like,
And also, it's like 12 people
Bonkers.
doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people killed them on the first day. The worst part was that people were doing it like during the party and like all this stuff. I was like, oh man. Chris is like trying to get away from the con, people chasing him down, trying to kill him. So they do it before the second day. Like, dude.
But Chris was dropping a headhunter, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And people were
apparently.
going like super crazy when that happened.
Was it like a full headhunter or was it just like a part of it?
No, it was a full headhunter.
Full on.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't that many of them.
Jonathan had one.
Shout out! Someone actually offered to give me their headhunter when they were like, oh, did you enjoy the card game? I was like, oh no, I didn't play it. And like, do you want? I was like, dude, I can't take your headhunter. Keep it. That's yours. But there are a lot of people who are very generous with that sort of stuff. Also, just major props to Chris. So after the after party on day 2, he was still signing stuff till 1:30 in the morning, which is insane. Like, you would never think of any dev doing that. They'd like gotten a table, it was raining outside, and they were literally outside the convention center. He's like, I'm just gonna stay here until everyone has got who's wanted to be like met and wanted stuff signed. I will stay until every single one is done.
Wasn't it something like 8 hours straight of just signing and then in the rain and everything? It was crazy.
Like, the day started at like 8 a.m. and he stayed out till 1:30 a.m. That's like ridiculous.
Total, he was probably signing for like 20 hours straight, if not more. Pretty crazy.
Also at the dinners, some developers were just staying so long, just interacting with people, telling stories. It was just so cool.
Sure.
I mean, at the VIP dinner, there was like even that thing where like the shuttle buses came to pick us up from Jonathan's and like, oh, you guys don't have to leave now. And we're like, no, we should leave now. Like, come on, guys. Like, we did we all leave or did anyone stay behind?
No, I think everybody left. But like, imagine being the one guy who was like, oh, I'm just gonna sit around, dude.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll stay. Like, what time did we leave? Like 11 or something?
It wasn't that crazy.
It's all a blur.
10, 11-ish.
Yeah, like 11, yeah.
So that dinner was incredible. Got to
my
meet
God,
a lot of really interesting people. I didn't realize until like I didn't grow up playing ARPGs like a lot of people in Path of Exile do. So I've got very little experience with Diablo. Like, I've played, maybe through the Diablo 3 story thing once. I've played next to no Diablo 2, no modded Diablo 2, nothing like that. And the shuttle bus back, I remember I was talking with some of the other people on the bus, and it wasn't until I got back home.
Hang on, whoa, some of the other people on the bus, I was sat next to you talking to you the whole time.
Yeah, I was talking to Tarke, but also some other folks. It wasn't until I got back home and I was watching a YouTube video from a GDC talk that I realized, oh shit, that guy behind me was David Brevik. Like, it was a YouTube video of one of his GDC talks. And I was like, I have seen him. Oh. And I don't think I ever like introduced myself or said hello or anything. And this man is like foundational to the genre I've built my livelihood on.
So Octavian tells the story really poorly. It was the two of us on the way back, and I was explaining a Terry Pratchett short story to Octavian. At which point, David is a massive Terry Pratchett fan who's behind us, and he'd had a couple of drinks, so he was slurring his words a little bit. He starts talking about Terry Pratchett, and Octavian kind of looks at me like, who's this drunk guy ruining our conversation? Like, legit kind of like mildly offended.
How dare you? How dare you?
And for the whole like 30 minutes on the way back, we were talking, and then Dave Roke would randomly just like pipe up and say something like Pokemon Go or whatever. He was really, really cool. And then it was just like,
no, he was a good guy.
Who was that? Like,
wait, you haven't played WoW? Was it you that never played Pokemon?
I've played basically zero Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, didn't your parents think games played, the devil like, or something?
Not literally, but close enough. Yeah.
Oh man, that's it.
No, Octavian didn't have a childhood.
My dude.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm very
that's why he's smart.
Uneducated. And I find, like, as well as that with games, I obviously play quite a few of them now. I like find one, and that game is the thing that I play to the exclusion of all else. So there's like 5 games that I've played 5,000 plus hours in, and I've not really played very many others.
Basically, what Octavian is saying is he's actually Mewtwo, and he was made in a lab.
What games?
League of
Okay.
Legends, Path of Exile, Minecraft. Those are the games I have time in.
Oh
Not
yeah, I
really
can't
much.
talk shit because I never played Minecraft, and
I've
that's
never played
apparently
Minecraft
heresy as
either.
well.
Mm.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
Yeah, see, that's why he's the smart guy, and we're, you know.
Okay.
Minecraft's cool again, folks. Go on, try give it a try.
Yeah.
No. At this point, it's like a badge of honor that I've never played Minecraft. So it's just like
No,
it could
it's not.
literally be the best game ever made, and I still wouldn't play it just out of principle.
I was really shit at TF2 for a long time too. It's about it.
Tarke, it's that time.
It's that time. Amazon Prime, 1 free sub each and every month. Doesn't manually renew. You gotta press that button yourselves. But otherwise, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and hanging out for one of the most packed Baeclasts we've had, and I think we did surprisingly well. I think we did pretty well considering there were 7 of us. Make sure that you follow everyone on the appropriate stuff. I would let everyone do individual shoutouts, so that would take 30 minutes. So yeah, follow Amie, follow Asuzara. Don't follow anyone else. And I hope you all have a nice day.
Fair.
Goodbye.
Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
Well, everybody's waving, so I'll do it too.
Noogie's not. Now
Yeah,
he is.
There's
what's
no
up,
ending
Noogie? That was a
animation to
really
it, so
delayed
that
wave.
kinda
Are we
sucks.
not cool enough for you? Like,
Noogie fell asleep halfway through.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just been really calm.
Right, you can go now.